Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto has a unique bloodline part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. A blonde-haired boy wearing a blue shirt and orange shorts was hiding in the shadows, taking extra care to hide himself from the adults looking for him because of his latest exploit, giving the Hokage monument a complete makeover, complete with makeup and a new hairdo that effectively turned them into queers. Just a normal day for one Uzumaki Naruto. He peeked out from his hiding place and noted that the assorted shinobis chasing him were no longer in the vicinity. A fox-like grin made its way to his face before disappearing with a loud pop. A lone shinobi lagging behind the chase heard the sound and decided to investigate. He didn't find anything in the dark alley except for a lonely black cat sleeping on top of an old dumpster. Naruto appeared in his living room with a loud pop before releasing a sigh of relief. Deciding to get a snack to calm his nerves, he proceeded to the kitchen, pulled out a cup of instant ramen, and filled it with hot water from a thermos. He brought it to the table and sat down to wait for the preserved noodles to be cooked to perfection. "That was a nice prank you pulled, Kit. You should have seen the faces of those chasing you when they saw their beloved Hokage sporting makeup and a new hairdo," a voice inside his head said, followed by a loud barking laugh which caused Naruto to grin. "Believe it. Besides, those old geezers needs a new look anyway, especially Hokage Gigi," he mentally replied haughtily to the voice as he served himself some of the delectable morsel in a cup. "Anyway, you're getting good with that disappearing trick of yours. Have you experimented with it?" the voice asked, curious. Naruto shook his head while slurping some of the hot ramen. "Nope. Not yet. Ever since it happened, I only practiced the disappearing trick," he answered the voice while slurping the remaining broth from the cup. He heard a sigh from the voice in his head. "How many times do I have to tell you? It's called teleportation," the voice corrected him in an exasperated voice. Naruto just rolled his eyes since they've been debating the technique's name for a month now. Yeah, Kyubi. Fine. Teleportation it is from now on. And to answer your question, no, I haven't experimented on anything other than teleportation," answered Naruto in an annoyed voice. The people of Konohagaku no Sato would have been shocked if they found out that Naruto was having a conversation with his tenant, the Kyubi no Kitsune. It was a freak accident that caused him to pass out in a deserted alley after running away from a team of ANBU after pulling a prank on the Hyuga clan. Painting their underwear bright orange without them knowing about it in the middle of the night was quite a blow on the clan that prided themselves on their all-seeing eyes. Of course, everyone knew that he did it since he was a well-known prankster in the village, and the orange was a dead giveaway since it was his favorite color, so he didn't bother to deny the accusations. He simply ran. He met Kyubi in his mindscape after passing out when he hit his head on a brick wall when he mistimed his jump. He found out about his furry tenant who explained to him how he was sealed inside him by the Yondaime Hokage, and how the seal will stop him from escaping. It took quite a while to explain everything since the boy was ranting and raving about him being inside his stomach, so to speak, which was the reason why the villagers was treating him like garbage. At the end, both were able to strike a deal with each other. Naruto will provide Kyubi access to the outside world through his senses, and in return, Kyubi will guide the boy on his goal to become a powerful shinobi, though he warned the boy beforehand that his technique was quite different from the usual shinobi fare since his abilities are mostly in chakra manipulation, and he only knew of a few shinobi techniques he could teach him. Naruto just waved him off and accepted the help. He discovered his teleportation ability accidentally when a mob cornered him in an alley after being discovered of playing a prank on one of the merchants' shop in the village. Really, there's nothing wrong with painting the entire shop pink. It was a good color, bright and happy. But it seems that the owner of the shop didn't like it, or he was a hidden pink hater. After being surrounded by a mob carrying all sorts of sharp implements to hit him with, he disappeared with a loud pop when he was overcome with fear, wishing to be in a safe place away from them. He arrived on top of the Hokage monument in a heap, not knowing how he got there. Naruto and Kyubi brainstormed about what happened, coming up with different theories on how the boy teleported away from the mob. Naruto told him that he was just awesome that way, while the fox looked deep into the boy's genetics to come up with a plausible explanation of the phenomenon. It took a while, but Kyubi was able to find out that the seal and his presence in Naruto altered his genetics to produce chakra into something that is more unique and potent. It is still the same chakra that the shinobi population uses for their techniques, but it had an added ingredient to it that allowed Naruto to teleport. And if Kyubi was right, which the fox said that he usually is, Naruto would be capable of other feats if he took the time to experiment a bit. It took a week of practice to get teleportation down to an art by disappearing and reappearing anywhere in his apartment. Try as he might, he couldn't get rid of the sound though, but beggars can't be choosers. You know, Kit, if you could harness this ability of yours, it would make you a powerful shinobi one day. I mean really, if you can disappear from one place to another without any restrictions, you can do anything if you put your mind into it. If I remember correctly, you were busy wishing to be somewhere safe when you got cornered by that mob after your prank. Your unique chakra helped you out by teleporting you to the Hokage monument. You can do other things if you put your mind into it, explained Kyubi in the most convincing voice he could muster. He didn't want the boy to waste whatever talent he has in his system. So what you do think I should do first, Q? Mused Naruto, a bit excited on the thought of becoming a powerful shinobi with his unique ability, as the fox called it. Nothing much. From what I can tell, you willed yourself to go to a safe place which coincidentally was the Hokage monument, since you hang out there a lot. If you can harness your will properly, then you might be able to do other things. But for now, there might be something in the Konoha library that could help you get started, so you might want to hit the books first. What? No way. I am not going to read. It's so boring. He whined in his most childish voice, but it didn't take much effort since he was still 6 years old. Besides, it's not like I'm welcome there anyway. I tried going there once since Gigi suggested that I read something before I start the academy, but the old geezer in the library wouldn't let me in. QB silently cursed at the stupidity of humans. These humans were living in a shinobi village, so they should know something about seals or ask an expert about it. But no, they chose to ignore that because it would be easier to just blame the boy because of his presence inside him. He perked up a bit when an idea hit him. Why don't you disguise yourself, Kit? Disguise myself? How? I don't really have money to buy a decent disguise, you know. He complained, thinking about the money the Hokage gave him as a form of allowance that is given to orphans who chose to live by themselves. He barely had enough to buy stuff he needs since the shops in the village overcharge him. The only place he could eat in peace at the right price was at Ichiraku Ramen, where the Hokage treats him when he's not busy with his work. That's where I come in. I can teach you how to access your chakra, then I'll instruct you how to do the Henj no Jutsu, transformation technique, so you can go into the library anytime you want. Besides, the old geezer guarding the library is not a shinobi, so you don't have to worry about him dispelling your disguise. Excited about the prospect of learning his very first ninja technique, he immediately agreed and disappeared with a loud pop to the forest behind the Hokage monument so he can practice in peace. It took a month for Naruto to access his chakra, which was followed by Kyuubi immediately teaching him the Henj no Jutsu. The fox first taught him how to settle down and find the chakra source in his body. It took quite a while for him to find it, but he was shocked when he did. He had so much chakra in his body that even Kyuubi was amazed. His tenant informed him that his chakra reserves was 5 times larger than your average genin, which made Naruto jump around in excitement, shouting that he was going to be powerful in the future. Kyuubi immediately shot him down by telling him that having so much chakra was good, but his control would be shot because of it. This caused an hour-long debate between the two between control and power. Of course, Kyuubi won with his logical explanation that easily trumped Naruto's defense. After the debate, which Naruto lost, Kyuubi taught him the various steps to control his massive chakra reserves before doing any jutsus. Of course, Naruto whined the whole way but immediately shut his trap when Kyuubi threatened him that he will not be teaching the boy any techniques if he didn't have any control over his chakra. It took the rest of the month to exert a minimum control over his massive reserves. Naruto started out with the basic leaf-sticking exercise, which took him a week to master, which would normally take an academy student a day or two to accomplish. Another week was focused on tree walking, which Naruto was quite excited to do. For Naruto, walking on walls and trees was amazing in his mind. Kyuubi took all this in stride since he found it funny every time his container was blasted off a tree like a rocket when he used too much chakra during the exercise. Naruto left his apartment ready to start his first mission, infiltrating the Konoha library. He already mastered the Henj no Jutsu, which was too easy for him, much to the surprise of the fox. Again, Naruto told his tenant that he was just awesome that way, but the fox shot down his growing ego by telling him that it was because of him that he was able to master the jutsu easily. After all, foxes were natural shapeshifters, so the trait must have passed on to Naruto after the sealing. Naruto grumbled about that, causing Kyuubi to give him a smug look that spoke volumes. Naruto ducked into an alley behind the Konoha library and put on his disguise. He came out with a black, messy hairstyle. His eyes were a light shade of green, almost jade. His trademark whiskers were gone since it would immediately alert people that it was him sporting a new look. He also changed his facial structure to a more angular look as opposed to his original rounded face. He didn't change anything else since it wasn't necessary, so his clothes and build stayed the same. He nervously entered the library, expecting the old geezer who guarded the place to kick him out. Much to his surprise, the man simply gave him a smile, while saying that it was great for kids to start reading at an early age. After telling the disguised Naruto to come to him if he needed any help, he ushered him inside while telling him to have fun. Naruto and Kyuubi were inwardly laughing at how they were able to fool the old fossil. Naruto found himself in a very large room filled with bookcases crammed to the brim with scrolls and books. He knew that the Konoha library was divided into 2 parts, the civilian section where he was now and the shinobi section that was in the 2nd floor of the building. Anyone can access the civilian section, but you need to have the leaf headband before you go to the more informative shinobi section, which contained regulated information that can be too dangerous for those who have no training for it. Naruto also knew that sensitive information was hidden away inside in a well-guarded room inside the Hokage Tower, close guarded the A and B round the clock. Despite his plans to raid the shinobi scrolls and books, his plans were for naught since there was a Chunin standing guard by the stairs. He cursed his luck but decided to go through with the plan for now. He didn't know where to start, so he decided to consult the brains of the mission. So what do you think I should look first, Q? Naruto asked his tenant while checking out the labels on the shelves. He was in the history section of the library where the shelves were filled to the brim with very old-looking scrolls and books. I'm not really sure. This caused Naruto to palm his face hard. Hey, it's my first time in the library, so I don't know exactly what we're looking for. However, the best place to start is to find any information on bloodline limits. Our goal is to find a bloodline that is similar to yours if ever there is one. Fine. I think those books are in the next row. Let me check it out, said Naruto while grumbling about annoying know-it-all foxes. He left the current row and walked to the next one, checking out the titles on the shelves as he walked. He stopped when he found a book entitled Bloodline Lexicon of the Elemental Countries. This looks like a good one to start with. What do you think? He asked his tenant while opening the book to see that the different bloodlines were sorted according to the village they were cultivated. He felt Kyubi reading along with him. Yep. Start reading, the fox ordered. Naruto rolled his eyes but did as instructed. 2 hours later, Naruto's eyes were watering while Kyubi was ranting in his head that this was taking too long. Stop, Kit. We aren't getting anywhere with this. If we keep this pace, then we won't be able to experiment with your abilities until you have gray hairs. I have a plan, so I want you to go back to our clearing in the forest. I'm going to teach you something we can use to get our research done faster. Not wanting to argue with an irate fox, Naruto placed the book back on its shelf and disappeared with a loud pop back to the forest clearing where he practiced with his chakra. So what do you want to teach me? Naruto asked excitedly. Kyubi rolled his eyes at his container's childish antics. I noticed back there that reading one book at a time was taking too long, so we need reinforcements. I know one technique that we can use to speed up the process. It is called the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Technique. I think it's classified as a kenjutsu here in Konoha. My first container used it a lot back then, so I know how it's done. What's so unique about this jutsu? I mean, it's just a clone, right? Asked Naruto, confused at what a clone technique could do with their research. It is not your usual clone, Kit. It's classified as a forbidden technique for a reason. For one, it requires a shitload of chakra to use, but you already got that covered with your current reserves and with me inside you, then there's nothing to worry about. Next, once dispelled, the memories and experience of the clones will be transmitted back to the original, so you will learn what they learn and feel what they feel. It is also the ultimate training jutsu that only those with high enough chakra reserves can utilize. We can infiltrate the library at night using your teleportation, since we need to access the shinobi library instead of the civilian one. Make a lot of clones and have them read different books. I'll sort through the memories myself to avoid damaging your brain, and keep you posted if I find information that is related to your abilities. Interested? Hell yeah, Q. Let's get started. Kyubi showed him the hand seal for the technique and instructed him on the amount of chakra to use for it. It took him 2 hours to get it done. It took him quite a while since Kyubi tasked him to experiment with the chakra usage to make sure that the clones were adequately powered to avoid getting dispelled before their task is done. In the end of the practice session, Naruto was able to make 100 clones with ease that could last for 4 hours without dispelling. Kyubi instructed him to rest for now since he used up quite a lot of his reserves practicing the jutsu. Kyubi left it out that Naruto could use his chakra for the technique but didn't want to alert the authorities patrolling the village since his chakra was so potent that even civilians can feel it. Naruto, who was already tired on his feet, didn't argue with the fox, so he simply teleported to his apartment, jumped onto his bed and immediately went to sleep. Naruto was woken up around midnight by Kyubi, who was quite excited to get their infiltration mission on the way. After eating 5 cups of instant ramen, Naruto changed his clothes to darker colors, black shirt and blue pants, to make sure that he can immediately hide when he needed to. Once done, he visualized the interior of the library and willed himself to the location he memorized earlier, behind a large bookcase that is far away from the door to hide the sound of his appearance. He disappeared from his apartment with a loud pop. Naruto crouched down to hide when he appeared in the library, knowing that the sound of his teleportation might alert whatever guards was in the area. As planned, Kyubi took over Naruto's senses for a bit after the boy gave him his permission and did a sweep of the alley and some distance around it. He gave Naruto the all clear when he didn't feel anything out of the ordinary. They have the library all to themselves for the night. Okay, Kit. No one's in the area, so make 100 of your clones as we practiced earlier, then tell them to read different books for our research. Now hop to it, ordered Kyubi. Naruto rolled his eyes at how stupid the order sounded. Really, Q? Hop to it? I'm not a rabbit, you know. Naruto deadpanned. He swore that he felt the Kyubi blush. Shut up. You're too young to complain, Kit. I'm more mature than you. Kyubi defended himself. This made Naruto grin. Sure. But you're right. You're the more mature one between the two of us. In fact, you're older than dirt, said Naruto with a grin. This resulted in the fox ranting about kids respecting their elders, which caused Naruto to hold his head in pain. Fine. Shut up, will you, so we can get started. The boy spat, which caused his tenant to shut up. After a mumbled apology from his tenant, Naruto summoned 100 clones and instructed them to check out books that might hold some answers or clues to his abilities. He instructed 10 clones to check out the civilian side of the library while he and rest go up to the shinobi section. The clones saluted and scattered to do as instructed. Naruto chose a book from the shelves entitled Chakra for Dummies before sitting down on the floor and started to read well into the night. Naruto teleported back to his apartment an hour before the library opens to the public, sporting a headache. He and Kyubi didn't find anything related to his abilities, but he could now brag when he attends the Shinobi Academy that he is knowledgeable about the history of the elemental nation, the different bloodline limits, shinobi mythologies, chakra theories, with some classical works thrown in. He never did find out why some of his clones were reading love stories. He slumped over to his bare kitchen and filled up a pot with water, then placed it on top of the stove to boil. His stomach was demanding food since reading took a lot of energy despite being a chore done sitting down. That was a useless night, complained Naruto while massaging his aching temple. He never wanted to hold another book if he can help it, but he knew that his measly wish was not possible. Stop complaining, Kit. There are thousands of books and scrolls in the library. You can't expect to find something about your abilities overnight. We will do this again tonight, so you might want to rest up since we are going to start early so we have more time to check out the materials there, said Kyubi in a solemn voice. He was also dejected at their lack of findings, but he knew that there was still a long way to go to find what they needed about his container's abilities. Fine. You're right. But at least we got something out of it, Naruto grumbled, but a small smile made its way to his face. Reading can quite fun, especially when you find something that interests you. Remembering being engrossed in his book about different chakras and its uses in the shinobi field. True. You have to realize, Kit, that being a ninja doesn't always equal flashy jutsus, blurring speeds, and powerful punches. Ninjas need knowledge. After all, muscles without a brain to guide them are useless. So despite the fact that we didn't get anything about your abilities, you are still learning something related to being a shinobi of the leaf, explained Kyubi in a sage-like voice. Naruto nodded while a thoughtful look crossed his face. Yep. I was thinking, instead of just focusing on researching about my abilities, what you say about starting my training early. I can check out some taijutsu moves and other shinobi-related materials so I can train in them. We can alternate between training and research since I still have 2 years before I go to school, he mused while pouring the boiling water into 4 cups of ramen. He got an excited nod from his tenant. That's a good idea, Kit. We'll start next week since it's already Wednesday. I want you to do research until Saturday, rest on Sunday, then we can start alternating between training and research next week. How does that sound? Asked Kyubi with mild interest, already coming up with a training schedule for his container. After all, having his container become stronger is only right since he is the strongest of the tailed beasts. Gotcha. Now let me eat in peace so I can go to bed. We have a long night tonight, said Naruto as he inhaled the ramen as fast as he could since bed sounds very good right now. Time skip 1 year, Naruto age 7. It's been a year since Naruto started infiltrating Konoha Library and is becoming a nighttime tenant of the place. He tried learning everything he could while researching on his abilities. They didn't get any solid facts out of their research, but Kyubi was able to theorize that Naruto's abilities was the first in the elemental nations, which made his host excited. It was similar to a bloodline, but they can't say anything more since they lack the evidence to back it up. During a year of reading and research, Naruto was able to accomplish 2 things. 1. He was able to learn the art of meditation since Kyubi told him that his ability seems to reflect his mind, using the first instance Naruto teleported as an example. To ready Naruto for future experimentation, Kyubi ordered his container to look for books on meditation to help him use his mind better. So while his clones were reading and researching, Naruto proceeded to meditate with Kyubi guiding him all the way. It took him a week before he was able to control his muscles enough to relax due to having too much energy to stay put. It was hard work, but he couldn't deny the benefits he got from it. First benefit he got from meditation was focus. He can now shift his focus as needed. His comprehension and vocabulary improved that he no longer needed to reread books just to understand it. He also discovered that he has photographic memory, but Kyubi assured him that it was normal since he is able to access his mindscape due to the seal. He can even hold a conversation with his clones while reading without missing a beat. The second benefit he found out by accident: discovery of his chakra system. When he delved deep into his mind or when he goes into a deep meditative state, he could sense the chakra in his body. Kyubi congratulated him when he discovered his chakra network since such skill was considered jounin to Sannin level. With it, he was able to achieve better control of his chakra to the point that the water walking exercise took only a day to master. This caused Kyubi to grumble since he was looking forward to Naruto making a fool of himself. 2. He finally found his niche as a ninja. He read a text about sealing and he couldn't tear his eyes away from it. The first text he read was Basic Seals for Dummies by the Toad Sage Jiraiya. Unlike other books he read, or those that his clones read, it seems that he could understand the formation and creation of seals with ease, as if sealing was in his blood, which Kyubi pointed out that it could be possible since he has a seal on his stomach. Naruto immediately thrashed the theory and gave the fox a look that easily said, "Are you stupid or something?" He was able to utilize simple seals on his apartment. First, he placed a durability seal on his clothes since he didn't want them to get ruined because of his training. He also tried simple security seals on his apartment, like a locking seal that requires his chakra to unlock the door and windows. He also added durability seals on the walls so the mob that visited wouldn't be able to get through the locks on his door and windows. He was also able to successfully add a heating seal on the shower head so he enjoyed a lot of hot showers despite the landowner turning it off to his discomfort. He also wanted to try his hand out on exploding seals after reading it in a book which is considered as basic for Chunin level shinobis, but QB shot the idea down since he wasn't that far into his studies and one wrong move could obliterate both of them to kingdom come. Thankfully, Naruto was scared enough to postpone the idea for the future. He was also lucky enough to read through a taijutsu training manual by Mato Guy on how to develop one's body in preparation of becoming a shinobi, though the title of the book left a lot to be desired. Taijutsu for the youth. Stoke your flames of youth to become strong. QB commented that the author is either eccentric or not right in the head. Naruto gave the benefit of a doubt that it's the former. Despite its title, the book was simple and direct to the point. It explained the fundamentals in developing one's body to produce more speed and power for later use in taijutsu. Mato Guy also explained that the Konoha Academy taijutsu style is a basic form to start kids in creating their own style, or following pre-existing style through muscle memory. It is considered as a foundation of leaf taijutsu, and is flexible enough to be expanded to other styles to fit the practitioner. The book also detailed exercise routines through the use of training weights sold in many shinobi stores in Konoha to improve speed and strength. He immediately tried it out the next day. He used his favorite disguise to buy a set of chakra weights for both arms and legs. It bit deep into his wallet, emptying half of his savings, but it was worth it since the weight can be changed through the application of chakra on the special seals engraved on the metal. After buying the weights, he immediately ducked into a dark alley and teleported to the clearing. He placed them on his arms and legs, then channeled a little bit of chakra into it. He was lucky that his control was good, or else he would be kissing dirt right now. His first try caused the weights to go up to 5 kilos each, which almost tore his arms out of its sockets. He trimmed down the chakra output until he was able to set the weights to 20 pounds each, which was the advised weight for beginners. He didn't start with any taijutsu styles, but he poured himself on various exercises and stretches, like running laps, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, and the likes. His whole body was sore when he returned home that afternoon, but QB assured him that his body will be good as new tomorrow with him accelerating the healing process. Time skip, 1 year, Naruto age 8. 2 months before start of Shinobi Academy, Naruto was in the library reading a book on seals by Namikaze Minato. He was already finished with the first 2 books on seals written by Jiraiya of the Sannin, and is now reading the next stage as recommended by the Toad Sage, the Namikaze Compendium on the Sealing Arts. It was at this point that he discovered another ability of his unique bloodline. He was busy reading the first book of the Namikaze Compendium until he cursed when he got to the part telling him that he needed Jiraiya's book on gravity seals as reference since the drawing of the seal was not included in the Namikaze set. Damn it! Why can't he just put the drawing of the seal in his book instead of referencing it on Jiraiya's book? He cursed loudly. What was that, Kit? Asked QB, who didn't know why Naruto was cursing since he was busy sorting through the memories from some of the dispelled clones. I have to look for another of Jiraiya's sealing books regarding a diagram on gravity seals since the book I'm reading doesn't have it on the page. I haven't seen that book and looking for it here is like looking for a needle in a large haystack, said Naruto, already stomping to a section of the library where he found most of the books on seals. No use cursing about it now. Just look for it, QB said in a distracted tone, going back to the clone's memories. Fine, grumbled Naruto as he checked out the shelves containing most of the books and scrolls on seals. After an hour of searching, Naruto was fuming since he really wanted to know how gravity seal works since the book explained that it trained the body by adding more resistance to it as opposed to weights. He was silently cursing while mentally thinking of the title of the book as he searched the shelves. He didn't notice the book flying at him from one of the far shelves until it hit him on the side of the head, which caused him to fall on the floor in a daze. What in the hell was that? Shouted Naruto as he massaged the side of his head, which was now sporting a sizable lump. I don't know, but there was a surge here in your chakra coils before you got hit. What hit you anyway? Asked QB while investigating Naruto's coils for abnormalities as he subconsciously sent some of his healing chakra to the bump on Naruto's head, effectively reducing the swelling until it was nothing but a memory. How should I know? I was just checking out the shelves for Jiraiya's book before something hit me, he grumbled. He stood up, but not before seeing a book in front of him. There it was. Jiraiya's book. What in the world is that book doing there? It wasn't there before? He demanded as he pointed at the book as if demanding it to explain its sudden appearance. Don't know. But it's there now, so why are you complaining? Said QB in monotone, but he was excited at what happened, though he didn't want to show it to Naruto to get his hopes up. Did it ever occur to you that this is strange? He said to his tenant while picking up the book. No wonder his head felt painful. It was a very big book and all of it is about gravity seals. I know this book is not in this shelf or in this section, and from the way it hit me, it should have come from somewhere over there. He looked over to a group of his clones in the same lane as he was. Hey guys. Did you throw this book at me? He shouted at the clones while waving said book in front of him. One of the clones shook his head before going back to his reading. No boss. None of us did. We were busy reading, he said in a disinterested voice while the others with him just nodded their head, not taking their eyes from their respective books. This caused Naruto to sweat drop. When in the world did his clones act like that, so focused, so cold? This caused Kyuubi's ears to perk up in interest. He pulled up the memory of Naruto checking out the shelves for Jiraiya's book and concentrated on everything in it. From the looks of it, his container was concentrating on a particular book before the pain. So it must be, Kit. I want you to try something for me. Kyuubi asked with a lot of excitement in his voice. What is it, Q? He asked mentally, confused why his tenant was excited all of a sudden. See that book that your clone is reading? Naruto nodded. Good, I want you to focus on it and call it to you. This caused Naruto to give the fox a look that spoke volumes. Are you smoking something in there? Deadpan Naruto. If you are, then I suggest you get rid of it. This got him a growl from his tenant. Shut up and just do it. I need to prove something before we can move on. Fine. Shut up so I can concentrate, stupid fox. Grumbled Naruto. He concentrated on the book his clone was reading and called it to him. After 5 minutes of concentrating, he tried another tactic. He noticed the book title and focused again. This time, the book slipped out of the clone's hands to the floor. The clone looked at that book as if it was something else. This shocked both Naruto and Kyuubi. He tried again, this time putting all his concentration on the task. He visualized the book, title and all, flying towards him. He felt a surge in his chakra, then the book flew from the floor where the clone was about to retrieve it towards him, luckily catching the literary projectile before it could hit him. What in the world was that? Shouted Naruto, catching the attention of all the clones in the library. Hey boss. I'm not done with that yet. Whined the clone that missed grabbing the book when it flew towards its creator, while the rest was alternately looking at said book in Naruto's hand and the whining clone. Shut up. Instead of worrying about that book, you should be worried how I got it in the first place. Shouted Naruto in a voice mixed with awe and excitement. Kyuubi, any idea what happened? I do. It seems we have found a key to your abilities, Kit. Key? What do you mean? Asked Naruto. I finally figured out how your abilities work, Kit. While you were concentrating, I was busy focusing on your abilities. It seems that your bloodline reacts with focus, intent, and visualization thrown in for good measure. You focused on the book to come at you, but it didn't. Then you tried it again using the title of the book. Still didn't work, but it got you some results. But when you visualized the book coming to you, it did. It is similar to how you teleported for the first time. You were thinking about the Hokage monument at that time, and you subconsciously channeled your chakra, causing you to teleport yourself there. You usually think of the place and will yourself there, your chakra automatically following what you wanted to do. Explained Kyuubi. Again, what does it mean? What difference is it when you say I willed it to happen? Asked an exasperated Naruto. Kyuubi rolled his eyes at how dense his container could be despite his increase in knowledge. Simple. Your abilities require 3 things to make it work. You need to focus on what you want to happen, then you visualize what you want to happen, then lastly, will your chakra to let it happen. Try it so we can prove that theory. Kyuubi explained as patiently as he could since he wanted to start the experimentation. Excited to try it out, Naruto looked around for something he could experiment on. He saw a book on genjutsu that he discarded earlier and focused on it. He visualized the book floating on top of the desk while focusing his chakra towards the book. His heart started hammering in his chest when the book floated 2 feet of the desk, but it wobbled and fell back on the table when he lost his concentration. Wow, Q. It worked, said Naruto excitedly while trying it again, focusing on the book, which lifted itself off the desk again to the surprise of his clones. Wow, boss. How in the world did you do that? One clone shouted. Come on, boss. Teach us. Another clone demanded. The library was suddenly alive with the sounds of Naruto clones demanding their creator how he did it, until it annoyed Naruto so much that he dispelled all of them, which caused him to suffer from a slight migraine due to the sudden influx of memories. Okay. That sucks. Mental note, don't dispel that much clones at once. Ouch. What the hell? One of my clones read some porn in here, he said while massaging his head because of the pain, and cursed when a line from a book containing smut entered his memory. Well, you were getting a headache from their shouting, so it's worth it, said Kyuubi in amusement, though he was interested in the memory from the clone who was reading the adult material. Shut up, Q. So what do we do now? Asked Naruto while sitting down in one of the chairs to get rid of the throbbing inside his head. You have 2 options, Kit. You continue reading and practicing your newfound skill, or you can go back to your apartment and rest. From the looks of it, the ability you just showed took a lot of chakra to perform, same with how you're teleported for the first time. I think I know how your ability works, so I'll come up with a training program for you. I suggest you go home, rest up, then we can get started tomorrow. Okay, Q. That's a good idea, said Naruto before teleporting directly to his bed in his apartment to sleep. The 2 months before going to the academy was spent training his newfound skill. He still delegated a dozen clones to go to the library to do research, since he didn't know the full extent of his abilities as of yet. He was shocked that night when his clones disappeared with a pop, since he didn't think that his clones have the same ability he had. Kyuubi theorized that since shadow clones were technically his exact duplicates, so it is only safe to assume that they have the same abilities as the original, provided that they have enough chakra to pull it off. This sped up the training program that Kyuubi created for Naruto with the help of his clones. Every day for the next 2 months, Naruto and his clones were in the clearing levitating various objects around to keep in practice. Kyuubi told him that it is similar to telekinesis, which they read in one of the books in the library. The fox let Naruto practice it to the point that he can levitate any object subconsciously and maintaining it as well as making it do things he wanted to do. Naruto had so much fun letting rocks of all shapes and sizes float around him. He even went to the point of playing catch with his clones using only telekinesis, which was quite fun except for the destruction it caused to the surrounding. Kyuubi also told Naruto that his abilities are limited by his imagination when Naruto accidentally created a bed which was an exact duplicate of his lumpy bed back in the apartment when he wanted to take a rest from training. This sparked a revision in the training program, so some of the clones were delegated to create random objects out of nothing. One of the clones tried a different tactic and transformed an object into another, from a rock to a chair, which said clone used with a smug look on his face until one of the clones reversed the transformation that caused the clone to hit the ground, causing it to dispel. After the 2 months of training, Naruto had a solid skill set for his abilities. He already got teleportation down to an art when he was able to do it silently. Kyuubi noticed that Naruto was overcharging the technique with chakra, causing the excess to dissipate in the air that resulted to the loud popping sound. Naruto experimented with to the point that he only needed enough chakra to execute the technique. The next skill he mastered was creation, to create any non-living objects from nothing. He had fun making new clothes in various designs, so he was able to fill up his bare closet to the limit, which prompted him to make a bigger one since the original was too small. He noticed that his creations didn't disappear after observing it for a week, but Kyuubi told him to keep an eye out on his created clothes just in case. After all, he wouldn't want for his clothes to suddenly disappear on him while walking on the busy streets of Konoha. Because of this, Naruto's apartment was now a fully furnished bachelor's pad complete with pristine furniture that was quite comfortable. He scoured the various furniture shops in Konoha underhenge to memorize the designs so he can duplicate it perfectly. His favorite was a 4-poster queen-size bed complete with soft pillows, sheets, and blanket. Even Kyuubi drooled at sleeping in such luxury. The last skill he mastered with his current training program was transformation. Unlike creation, which allowed him to create something out of nothing, transformation allowed him to turn one thing into another. He had fun with this one since he noticed that he can transform a living being to another living being or to a non-living object. One of his clones turned a harmless rabbit into a very large white tiger that chased them around the woods, much to Kyuubi's amusement. During experimentation, he noticed that the transformation ability was not permanent since the tiger lasted for an hour before it turned back into a harmless rabbit, who, Naruto noticed, was quite smug at chasing them around. The rabbit's smugness annoyed Naruto so much that he waved his hand at it, causing the area where it was standing to explode, resulting in a small crater 3 feet in diameter and depth. Luckily, the rabbit hopped away when Naruto moved his hands, effectively saving it from certain death. With a large grin on his face, he immediately started making things explode around the clearing, much to the envy of his clones. Annoyed at the constant whining that they want to make things explode too, he created another clone, then dispelled it, causing its current memories to be distributed to the others. More explosions followed, causing the clearing to expand in size with lots of felled wood for more practice on transformation. Naruto and Kyuubi also noticed that he cannot transform or create something that he didn't know about, which was a result of making a plastic kunai. Naruto was aiming for a real kunai, but he didn't know metal that well, so he accidentally ended up with plastic. His ramen cups were plastic, so he is quite familiar with them. This caused Naruto to make a dozen clones disguised as civilians to read up on subjects involving chemistry and metals. Kyuubi instructed him to add more clones to their nighttime research to raid the civilian section of the library for basic information. Once he got a solid grounding on his abilities, Kyuubi advised Naruto to let the clones practice and discover more of his abilities while he, the original, focused more on physical training. His current weights were now at 50 pounds each, totaling to 200 pounds on his person. His exercise for 2 years yielded great results. He was now 4 feet 0 inches, which was quite tall for an 8-year-old, and is devoid of any body fat thanks to his training. He wasn't muscular per se, but you could easily see the contour of developing muscles and abs if you look hard enough. Despite the result of physical training, Naruto complained a lot since it was cutting down on his fun practicing his abilities, but he was shot down when Kyuubi told him that his abilities would be useless if his enemies can catch him before he can do anything with it. With that said, Naruto focused on improving his speed and strength, which resulted in further increasing his chakra reserves, allowing him to last longer with his abilities. Also, a major breakthrough is when he finally found a name to his bloodline. It was quite funny, really. One of his clones was hooked into reading a fantasy novel where people have powers over magic that allowed them to do things that he could do in real life. Both he and Kyuubi realized its potential as added fuel for experimentation, immediately created a batch of clones to read similar books in the library. The two were salivating at the possibility of throwing fireballs, creating ice attacks, calling down lightning, drowning enemies in torrents of water, and other elemental abilities through the bloodline. In the end, they decided to call Naruto's ability chakra magic thanks to the fantasy books that opened his eyes to more of his potential abilities. It was 5 days before the start of the academy that Naruto was practicing making fire out of his magic. It was a touch-and-go situation at first when he accidentally created a roaring inferno that almost burned the forest. Thankfully, he was able to get rid of it by levitating water from a nearby stream and making it fall on the burning trees, effectively dousing them before they could spread. Unfortunately for him, this act didn't go unnoticed. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Sandaime Hokage, was currently resting his weary body from hours of tackling the Kage's bane, paperwork. He stood up from his desk and walked towards the window overlooking the Hokage monument. While he was relaxing his eyes, he noticed smoke rising from the forest behind the mountain and immediately went on alert. He knew that the south side of the mountain was uninhabited, so a fire there is an alarming scenario. He immediately called his personal ANBU, Nico and Inu, and dispatched them to the scene to bring to him whatever caused the fire for questioning. Unaware of the coming visitors, Naruto was busy trying to create fire out of nothing. His first experiment allowed him to tone down the amount of chakra he was using to fuel his creation, so he started with small bursts to avoid setting a forest fire. He was a bit successful when he created a marble-sized flame floating in front of him and slowly feeding it with more chakra to increase its size. Slowly, the fireball grew until it became the same size as his head. Grinning, he threw the fireball with a burst of telekinesis towards a tree, setting the trunk ablaze. Unknown to him, Nico and Inu was in the trees behind him checking out his abilities. "What in the world did that kid do?" asked a female voice coming from the Nico. "Dunno. But whatever he did, it was cool. I didn't notice any seals, but I did sense chakra being used to create the jutsu." "Wait, there he goes again," said Inu when Naruto tried again, this time, making a fireball the size of his head and throwing it at the same tree, which obliterated part of the bark into ash. With speed that amazed the two ANBU, a grinning Naruto created 5 fireballs of the same size around him, floating in midair, and flung his right arm out pointing towards the tree. As if on command, the 5 fireballs sped through the air and struck the same spot, causing the bark to explode and the tree to fall into the forest. Deciding that it was enough demonstration, Nico and Inu jumped down from the tree behind Naruto. "Uzumaki Naruto, the Hokage would like to see you in his office right away," said Inu. Naruto immediately turned around looking like a deer caught in headlights. What?" Naruto stuttered out since he was caught red-handed with his abilities. "Hokage-sama saw the smoke coming out of the forest behind the Hokage monument and asked us to investigate and to bring to him who caused it. We saw you demonstrating your abilities, so it is only reasonable that you were the one who caused it," said Nico. "Kyubi, what should I do?" Naruto mentally shouted to his tenant. "There's nothing we can do, Kit. You're caught red-handed. It's not like we can modify their memories or something, so it's best if you come clean and tell your Gigi about it," said Kyubi, not fazed in the slightest since he already predicted this would happen. He just didn't expect it to happen sooner than later, but trying to come up with a decent excuse to hide his abilities, but he came up with nothing. "Alright. Besides, I trust Hokage Gigi anyway, so maybe he can help me with it." He looked at the ANBU in front of him and gave them a foxy grin. "Is Gigi in his office right now?" he asked them. Inu chuckled at the boy calling the Hokage such an informal name. "Yes, Naruto, he is in his office right now. We best get going since it's a long way to the Hokage Tower from here," said Nico. Naruto grinned. "Okay, Nico-chan. See you there then." With that, Naruto disappeared from the clearing without a sound, which caused the two ANBU to drop their jaw in amazement. Naruto silently appeared in the Hokage's office and noticed that his Gigi was currently looking out the window facing the Hokage monument. "Hey Gigi. You called for me?" he asked the Hokage, who was startled at not sensing Naruto enter his office. "Naruto, how did you enter the office since I didn't even sense you open the door?" asked the Hokage. "Besides, why are you here anyway?" Naruto gave him a long look. "Well, you had your two ANBU call for me while I was practicing in my clearing behind the Hokage monument, so I'm here." He deadpanned. "You mean the smoke coming out of the forest was you?" the Hokage asked in curiosity. Naruto nodded happily. "Yep. I was practicing with my bloodline since I discovered it 2 years ago." "Naruto, you don't have a bloodline," said the Hokage, giving Naruto a long look. "Of course I do," he said as if insulted. To demonstrate, he waved his hand towards the Hokage that caused the Hokage robes to turn into a pink bunny outfit. "See? That's my bloodline." He grinned at the sight of the powerful Hokage in a bunny costume. The Hokage was about to say something when Inu and Nico appeared in the room panting. "Hokage-sama. Naruto Disaha?" Inu and Nico were treated to a sight that would last them till the day they die. In front of them was the Hokage wearing a pink bunny costume with a smirking Naruto in front of him. Both fell to the floor rolling in laughter. "Oh my god, make it stop," Nico said in between bouts of laughter, while Inu wasn't capable of speech as he rolled on the floor laughing his head off. Blushing in embarrassment, Sarutobi released a bit of his killer intent, which caused both ANBU to freeze, successfully stopping their bouts of laughter. He looked at his grinning surrogate grandson with a look that said, "Do something about this or else." Smiling sheepishly, Naruto waved his hand again towards the Hokage to reverse the transformation, putting his Hokage robes back to its original state, which caused the leader of Konoha to sigh in relief. Naruto, sit down. Inu, Nico, report. Demanded Sarutobi towards his now composed ANBU, though his eye twitched a bit when Inu released a snort of laughter which he immediately hid behind a cough. Hokage-sama. As you commanded, we immediately went to the location of the smoke and discovered Naruto-san displaying abilities that baffled both me and Nico. He was creating fire out of nothing but his chakra. No seals at all. He created fireballs out of nothing and practically obliterated a tree with ease. From the burns in the clearing, I would say that it was he who caused the fire earlier that resulted in the smoke. Inu formally reported his findings. Also, Naruto-kun disappeared when I told him that you were in the tower waiting for him. It wasn't the Shunshin or any speed technique we knew about. He just disappeared. We immediately ran back as fast as we could to see if he really went to you as requested. Finished Nico, which caused the Hokage to nod. Good work, you two. Now leave us. I want to speak to Naruto-kun alone. He commanded his personal ANBU, who left without a word. He immediately put up a privacy barrier to make sure that they were not interrupted. He sat on his chair and looked at his surrogate grandson, who was grinning at him. So Naruto-kun, anything you want to tell me about this bloodline of yours? Naruto nodded, since he and Kyuubi already decided to come clean as they were already discovered. It's a long story, GG, so make sure that you have a lot of time for this, said Naruto. Don't worry, Naruto-kun. With you, I always make time. The Hokage replied with a smile, causing Naruto to return it. Okay, GG, it all started when I ran from a mob after I pranked someone 2 years ago. I accidentally hit my head, which caused me to pass out. That was when I met Q. Naruto started his story. Kyuubi. I met him when I accidentally entered my mindscape when I passed out. What? You met the Kyuubi? Don't be fooled by him, Naruto. Warned the Hokage, since he planned to tell Naruto about his tenant when he graduates from the academy. This plan was obviously out of whack. You have nothing to worry about, GG. In fact, he is telling me to ask you if you want to talk to him, since he has a lot of explaining to do. Wait a minute, Naruto. What do you mean Kyuubi wants to talk to me? How can he do that since he is stuck inside the seal? I think it would be best if he explained it to you, since I don't know the technicalities of it, said Naruto. Sarutobi was about to stop him, but it was too late. Naruto's eyes glazed over, then his usual blue were replaced with red with slit-like pupils. Greetings, Hokage. Naruto's voice was replaced by a deep baritone that indicated that Kyuubi is in control. Kyuubi, how can you control Naruto? The seal was supposed to be designed to make sure that you can't do such a thing, gasped the Hokage. Kyuubi, Naruto just rolled his eyes. Do relax, Hokage-sama. I can't do this without Naruto's explicit permission. This is part of the deal we made when we met 2 years ago, explained Kyuubi, making himself comfortable on the chair. Deal? What deal? After explaining to the kid what happened when I attacked the village and getting sealed inside him. We made a deal that could benefit the both of us. The deal is quite simple, since there is no way for me to escape the seal, since the Shinigami made sure to tie both our souls together. So if Naruto dies, I die. If I escape, we both die. Not something I really want to happen, said Kyuubi with a frown. So you mean to say that Naruto is currently inside his mind right now with complete control over his body? Yes. Right now, he is on a very comfortable chair facing a large monitor in front of him that acts as a reflection of his eyes so that I can see the outside world through him. He is laughing at you at the moment. Sarutobi's sweat dropped at his surrogate grandson's antics. Only the boy would find it funny when he is terrified out of his wits and facing the strongest Bijou in person. Fine. So Naruto can just take control back if he wanted to? Yep. He can, but he is telling me right now to explain everything to you. Lazy brat. Growled the fox, which caused Naruto to laugh harder in the mindscape. Shut up, brat. Don't make me go in there and bite you. Getting back his composure, Sarutobi relaxed, since he knew that Naruto wouldn't let Kyuubi harm him in any way. So, what do you want to tell me? First, I want to tell you what happened when I attacked Konoha. I didn't start the attack. I was forced to attack, to be honest. I find that hard to believe, Kyuubi, said Sarutobi, giving the fox-possessed boy a disbelieving look. Then let me ask you this, oh wise one. Out of all the history of Konoha, how many times did I attack on my own free will? Well, none. My first appearance in Konoha was during the battle between Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. Trust me, that wasn't my doing. I was summoned by that damned Uchiha, and controlled me with his evolved Sharingan, causing me to attack the Shodai Hokage in the Valley of the End. That caused me to be sealed inside his wife, Uzumaki Mito, the very first Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Before she died, I was transferred to another Uzumaki by the name of Kushina, which was the wife of the Yondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato. This caused Naruto to become shocked at the revelation. Kyuubi, are you telling me that the Yondaime Hokage sealed me inside you? And he was my dad? Why didn't you tell me? Naruto growled, temporarily getting control of his body and blurting it out loud without him meaning to, which caused the Sandaime to pale. Damn it, Kit. Shut up for a second, will you? I have a reason why I didn't tell you about it at first, and I will explain it properly to the Hokage. so shut up and calm down. Kyubi growled back, which surprised the Hokage since it solidified the belief that Naruto can take back the control of his body anytime he deemed it necessary, deciding to nip this in the bud before the two destroys the tower considering the energy Naruto was releasing because of his bout of anger. Naruto-kun, please let Kyubi finish his explanation. You will be told everything, so please, let Kyubi finish, pleaded Sarutobi, hoping to reason with his surrogate grandson. Fine, old man, but I want to be told everything, Naruto growled, which caused Sarutobi to nod. Naruto blue eyes immediately turned to red, signifying that Kyubi was back in control. Damn. The kid sure is angry right now. So, where was I? Asked Kyubi, which almost caused the Hokage to palm his face in annoyance. You were telling me that you were sealed into the Yandame's wife, he supplied helpfully, causing the Kyubi to nod. Thanks. Let me see. Kushina was a great container, to say the least. We have similar conversations like what me and Naruto is doing right now, but it was a bit muted since the seal was quite different. Anyway, during Kushina's pregnancy, the seal was weakened since most of Kushina's power was focused on childbirth. If I remember it, when I was inside, you and the Yandame was powering the seal to keep me inside, correct? This got a nod from Sarutobi. When Naruto was born, you left afterwards, so you didn't witness Uchiha Madara attack Kushina, with the Yandame not being able to do anything since he was using Naruto as a shield. With his power, he yanked me out of the seal that caused me to reappear outside Konoha. While I was disoriented from the release, Madara placed a powerful genjutsu on me that caused me to go on a rampage again. I think you already know what happened afterwards. I was sealed again into Naruto, but this time, the seal was more powerful and more complex due to the Shinigami's interference. The seal tied Naruto and my soul together to form a bond. I can't do anything to Naruto without his express condition, and he can use my chakra at will. However, my chakra has a negative effect on humans due to incompatibility. Using too much of my power before he is ready will cause him to go berserk. I see. A lot of questions came to light with your explanation. Now tell me this deal that you made with Naruto-kun. The deal is simple. By giving me access to the outside world through his senses, I will allow him safe control over my chakra, controlling it from the inside so he won't go berserk and limiting it to what he can handle, though I doubt he would need it considering the abilities he have because of his bloodline. Anyway, the deal allows me to see, feel, hear, and smell the outside world through Naruto, and in turn, I will teach him what I know so he will become a formidable shinobi in the future. Interesting. Both parties benefits equally from the deal to the most of their abilities. Now tell me, from Naruto-kun's outburst earlier, why you didn't tell him about his parents? He asked curiously, wanting to know the demon's reason on the matter. Simple. Naruto wasn't ready to deal with it yet. Shut up, Naruto, let me finish. Anyway, if I tell him about his parents 2 years ago, then he will be sure to shout or blurt it out needlessly since he wasn't mentally and emotionally ready back then. From what I experienced from Kushina, I understand that the Yandame made a lot of enemies, especially IWA and Kumo. If they find out through their spies or rumors that the son of the Yandame is alive, then Naruto would be swamped with assassination attempts. I can easily heal his injuries, but even my powers cannot protect him from death. I see. It is similar to my reasons for hiding things from you, Naruto-kun. I created a law after the sealing, an S-class secret that results in death if not followed, that everyone is not allowed to mention that you are the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi to the younger generation to give you some chance to make friends. I know the old generation would never look at you as a normal citizen of Konoha, so I made that law to ensure that the younger generation will grant you a chance to make bonds of friendship and trust. As an added insurance to ensure your safety, I withheld the information regarding your parentage to protect you from your father and mother's enemies. The room was silent as Naruto, who was currently in his mindscape, digested the information revealed to him. He grudgingly agreed with Kyuubi and his Gigi's reasoning in keeping it a secret. If his mind wasn't properly trained through the research, studies, and meditation that he experienced for the past 2 years, then he was sure that he wouldn't have the necessary maturity to keep the secret for his safety. He took control of his body, which was quite obvious when his eyes turned back to its shade of blue. He took in a deep breath to calm himself down. He looked at his surrogate grandfather with a smile. No sweat, Gigi. Thanks for making me understand. You and Kyuubi were right. I wouldn't have been able to keep it a secret, and that would have compromised my safety. So thank you again, said Naruto in a soft voice, but the Hokage was able to discern the sincerity behind the blonde's declaration. No problem, Naruto-kun. I always have your best intention at heart despite the fact that some of my decisions have hurt you in the past. Now, please tell me how you made me the laughingstock in front of my ANBU bodyguards. He said this with a glint in his eyes that made Naruto and Kyuubi gulp. It's my bloodline? Stuttered Naruto while cursing his tenant, since the fox went back into the seal to protect itself from the coming interrogation. Traitor! He growled to his tenant. It's every fox for himself, Kit. Good luck, said Kyuubi in a serene voice before cutting off the mental link between the two. The silence in his mindscape told him that the fox was deep inside his mind, inaccessible at the moment. He cursed some more. Unaware of the internal dialogue going on between the bijou and its container, Sarutobi pinned Naruto to his seat with a piercing glare. I know it's a bloodline, Naruto-kun. You made that fact perfectly clear when you turned my robes into a pink rabbit. What I want to know is how you did it, he asked in an ominous tone that made Blonde shiver in fear. Gigi. Have you ever heard of magic? Asked a very nervous Naruto. Sarutobi looked at the boy as if he was crazy but answered all the same. No, Naruto-kun. There is no such thing as magic. Magic is in the realm of fantasy, not reality, stated the Hokage as if talking to a child. Well, the best way to explain is to start at the beginning. Naruto explained the incident where he discovered how to teleport, and his discussion with Kyuubi regarding the unique addition to his regular chakra. He explained that Kyuubi theorized that his chakra allowed him to actually bend reality to his will, allowing him to do feats that ordinary shinobi doesn't. He outlined the nighttime research in the Konoha library, which surprised the Hokage since there were no reports of intrusions for the past 2 years. The blonde also described how he was able to call a book out of nowhere despite the fact that he didn't know where it was. After discovering the key to his ability thanks to Kyuubi, he started a training program with his tenant's guidance to discover the extent of his bloodline and to discover new ways to harness it. Lastly, Naruto explained to the Hokage that his ability seems to be similar to how magicians, wizards, mages, and sorcerers practice their abilities in fantasy books, so he decided to emulate them. He was quite excited, telling the Hokage the name of his unique bloodline limit, chakra magic, which caused the old leader to sweat drop at the childish decision. Sarutobi started rubbing his temples in exasperation, feeling a migraine coming due to Naruto's explanation of his abilities, which he found to be quite impossible. So let me get this straight, Naruto. You can teleport anywhere as long as you've been there before. You can move objects using your mind alone. You can create things out of nothing. You can transform things into living things, like the white tiger you created in the forest that chased you around. And finally, you can perform elemental attacks without the need of seals. Oh, not to forget that Kyuubi taught you Kage Bunshin since he already learned it from Mito-sama. Did I leave anything out? Naruto shook his head in negative. You got it right, Gigi, though I'm quite sure that there is more to my bloodline since Kyuubi told me that my limit is my own imagination, said Naruto, confirming everything the Hokage listed down as a partial list of his abilities. Said Hokage, however, was eyeing Naruto with a look that clearly said that he didn't believe that the boy was capable of all those things. You don't believe me, do you? He asked with an eyebrow raised. The Hokage shook his head. I find it unbelievable, Naruto-kun. Powers like that don't exist. New bloodlines don't just appear out of the blue, said Sarutobi in a solemn voice. Naruto didn't say anything but just gave the Hokage a grin that sent shivers down his old spine. Are you sure, Gigi? He asked while rubbing his hands together in anticipation. Despite his better judgment, Sarutobi answered in a way that doomed him. Yes. I'm sure that you're just making things up. Naruto immediately teleported from the chair to appear just in front of the door, making sure that the old Hokage won't be able to escape his demonstration. Okay, Gigi. Since you put it that way, then I don't have any choice in the matter. I have to demonstrate the capabilities of Konoha's wizard in action, he declared in a loud voice, waving one hand over to the window, changing it into jail bars to stop any forms of escape. Gathering chakra for his grand performance, he visualized what he wanted to happen, then released all of it in one fell swoop. The Hokage's robes turned into the pink bunny costume, this time with rainbow patterns on it. The desk turned into a white tiger with black stripes, growling at the old man. The paperworks that the Hokage signed transformed into different kinds of birds, flapping around the room, making a mess of things. The Hokage's chair became a manager's chair, and as an added effect, he turned the paperweight into a busted blonde with oversized assets, giving the old man a massage that caused him to blush. And finally, Naruto waved his hand all over the room, turning the Hokage office into a children's playground. Naruto then turned to the stunned and blushing Hokage. So what do you think, Gigi? Convinced? As an added effect, he conjured 5 balls of fire orbiting around his body, looking threatening. Sarutobi was stunned at the drastic change to his office. He flared his chakra, then released it in a wave to disrupt the illusion. Unfortunately for him, everything was real, so nothing happened. What the? These are all real? Stuttered Sarutobi. Naruto grinned. That's right, Gigi. All of these are real. So do you believe me now? Sarutobi slumped back to his chair, secretly enjoying the ministrations of the blonde girl behind him. Fine. You win, Naruto-kun. I acknowledge the existence of your chakra magic. Now please turn my office back to the way it was before, he requested in a defeated, yet wispy voice, since the massage was doing wonders for his aching muscles. Naruto nodded and waved his hand around the room, reversing the changes. This made the Hokage groan since he was enjoying the chair and the massage. So Gigi, what do you think? Asked Naruto, who sat himself back on the chair with a large grin on his face. Sarutobi gave Naruto a speculative look. What are your plans, Naruto-kun? You'll be attending the academy in 5 days, asked the Hokage. You're not thinking of quitting, aren't you? Naruto shook his head in negative while giving the old man an incredulous look. No. I still plan to be a ninja, so I'll be attending class. You already have my admittance papers, right? I was planning on visiting you a day before classes start to finalize things, replied Naruto. This got a nod from Sarutobi before carefully leafing through the piles of paperwork on his desk before pulling one out and handing it to the blonde who happily accepted the document. That's your admittance form to the Shinobi Academy. You just need to hand that to your teacher when you attend your first class. It's in room 201. You can't miss it, he instructed. Naruto was about to leave the room, but Sarutobi stopped him with a raised hand. Before you leave, there are a few things we need to discuss concerning your bloodline. As mandated in the Konoha Charter, those possessing a bloodline are automatically eligible for clan head status. I'm sorry to say that it is required that I register your abilities. This caused Naruto to frown. He had no intentions to reveal his abilities yet. Can you give me a few days to think things through, Gigi? I want to discuss it with Kyubi first since I'm not sure that I have mastered all of my abilities yet. I mean, it won't be a good idea to reveal my bloodline when we don't know everything about it, right? Asked Naruto to the Hokage, who nodded in affirmative since it was a good idea. That is a good idea, Naruto-kun. There is no rush since only I know the extent of your bloodline, and I'm sure Nico and Inu won't be telling anyone about it without my explicit permission. Just make sure you tell me your decision so I can prepare the necessary paperwork. Regarding your clan head status, you are still a minor until you graduate from the academy, so there is no rush there, stated the Hokage. Clan heads require you to be of Chunin rank, so that's still years away. Naruto nodded. Sure thing, Gigi. Well, is there anything else before I leave? I really need to get back to training since I won't have enough time when I attend the academy next week, he asked, itching to go back to the clearings since he needed to hone his control over the elements with Kyubi. Sarutobi looked apprehensive regarding his request, but he couldn't deny that he needed it. No. He wanted it. Can you change my chair back? I mean, it's really comfortable, said the aged leader with as much dignity as he could, though there was a slight whine to his voice. Naruto just laughed and waved his hand, changing the Hokage's wooden chair back into a manager's chair, though he added another feature that he read in one of the catalogs when he visited the furniture shop in the merchant's district. There, the boy said happily. Just so you know, I added a massage feature to the chair, so all you need to do is to apply chakra to it, then it will give you a nice massage. Bye, Gigi. He finished cheerfully before teleporting out of the room, leaving a very happy Hokage behind, who later frowned when he remembered something. Damn, I should have asked him to bring the girl back. Oh well. You can have everything, I guess. He mused while enjoying the chair's vibration as it loosened the aching muscles on his back. Life just got interesting for him. Naruto immediately engaged a conversation with Kyubi upon arriving in his clearing. So what do you think, Q? Naruto asked his tenant. With what? The clan head thing? Kyubi asked since he was listening to his container's conversation with his surrogate grandfather. Not really. I'm not that interested in the clan head status since I'm still too young to think about that. However, I'm more concerned about having to reveal my bloodline to everyone. I'm not sure how people will take it. After all, I'm not really that popular in the village, so telling them I have these abilities might not be well received by the public, stated Naruto with a frown on his face. There's nothing we can do about that, Kit. Maybe we can make a deal with the Hokage to keep it a secret until you graduate from the academy, said Kyubi. Speaking of academy, what are you planning to do with your training schedule? Since you will be spending most of the day in school, you won't have time to explore your abilities. I'm not really sure, Q. I mean, I'm really excited in attending the academy, but I also want to explore my abilities more. I'm pretty sure that what I can do now is only the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. True. To be honest, I already came up with a plan, but it might drain you for a few hours before you're up for training again. What do you have in mind? Asked Naruto, interested in what the Bijou got in store for him. Since the 2 years, Naruto gained a healthy respect of the Kyubi's help and put great pains to listen to its advice. We can always send a reinforced Kage Bunshin to the academy. But this time, you'll be adding a bit of my chakra into it to make sure it won't get dispelled easily. Besides, I can teach you what you'll be learning in the academy anyway, so you're just going to attend for the sake of graduating, since there's no way for you to join the shinobi ranks without their recommendation. That is a good idea, Q. But don't you think we should run this by Gigi? I mean, he should know, right? You think he wouldn't find out? If I know that old man very well, and I do, he will be keeping an eye on you since your abilities are quite unique, explained the fox. You do have a point there. So let's stick with that plan then, declared Naruto before creating clones to practice more of his chakra magic. Despite their original plan, Naruto decided to attend the first day of the academy on his own instead of sending a clone in his place. He woke up early on the first day of the academy and created a clone to make breakfast before hitting the showers. He didn't bother to wear anything fancy since there's really no point in impressing his instructors. He wore a simple dark blue shirt and black cargo pants. He didn't bother to bring anything else since he can create anything if he need to. After a delicious breakfast of eggs, bread, and milk, since Kyubi hammered it down his throat that eating only ramen wasn't a good idea. At first, Naruto refused to follow orders but immediately relented when the fox told him that he was short because he didn't get enough nutrients to promote growth. His chakra can only do so much to support him after all. Noticing that he still have an hour before the academy starts, Naruto decided to go there early so he can pick good seats, as well as observing his classmates before classes starts. He teleported out of his apartment to an alley a block away from school and walked the rest of the way. He arrived at the Shinobi Academy and noticed that no one was there. He guessed that he was too early. He decided to go search for his designated classroom and wait it out. It didn't take him long to find room 201 since it was the first room on the second floor of the building. He opened the door to reveal a shinobi on the desk reading some documents. The shinobi was a chunin, judging from his vest. His haircut made him look like a dolphin, but the scar on his face made him look cool. "Good morning. I'm here for the first day of class," greeted Naruto as he handed his admittance form to the ninja. The chunin smiled at how early the boy was. "Early, aren't you? Let me see Uzumaki Naruto. First time in the academy. Good. My name is Yumino Irika. I will be your instructor for the rest of the 5 years you will be attending the academy, so you should start calling me Irika-sensei from now on. Why don't you grab a chair and relax? Classes won't start for an hour still," said the now introduced Irika. Naruto nodded and looked around the room. He decided to sit at the very top so he can observe those coming in. It didn't take long for the new students to arrive, one by one entering the classroom, choosing seats for their own. Most of them were quite average. "Not really that interesting, aren't they?" Naruto said to his tenant. "Meh. What do you expect? They're still kids. Give them a few years to change, if they change, that is," said Kyubi with a tired yawn. "Sleepy again? Lazy fox," said Naruto in amusement. This caused the fox to growl in irritation. "I didn't sleep much last night, damn it. I was busy filtering through the memories from your clones. They read a few interesting books that we can try out with your bloodline if it works. If not, then we can think of something else," said Kyubi, releasing another loud yawn that echoed throughout the mindscape. This caused Naruto to sweat drop. "So what did you find out? Anything interesting?" asked Naruto, excited at what his clones read in the library. He didn't get the memory firsthand because Kyubi made sure that the influx of information is sorted by him first before releasing to Naruto's own. This method is quite useful, especially when dispelling large number of clones that could cause a painful migraine or put his container in a coma. Nothing much, to be honest, but some of the things they read gave me some ideas that you can incorporate into your fighting style. There was this one clone who read a manga about an assassin with a gun. Maybe we can reverse engineer that so you can have your own. But instead of bullets, we can modify it to utilize chakra instead," said Kyubi, who was quite interested in the ranged weapon. Another clone read a book about a kid using spells to do stuff that isn't normally possible, but the way the main character did things with a magic stick could be quite useful, though yours could be better since you don't need a medium for your abilities to work. "Here, let me send you the information so you can check it out on your own. I need a nap." Naruto waited as the information filtered through his brain. To be honest, it was quite a lot, so he was thankful for Kyubi to give it to him in bits and pieces instead of getting them all in one go. If he did, then he wasn't sure if his brain could survive the information overload. Naruto pretended to be asleep as he sorted through the information so he won't be disturbed. It seems that his clones expanded their reading repertoire to include comics called manga. The one with the gun came from a manga called Black Cat, a powerful assassin who carried an indestructible gun and have impeccable aim. The other one was a fantasy book called Harry Potter. It was quite interesting to say the least, since the abilities demonstrated by the characters were similar to his own, though the ones in the book have to use something called a wand just to do the things they do. It was quite weird really, but the idea of spells was very interesting, though he could forego the words just to make them work. Another interesting manga that his clone read was about people who utilize their life energy to do amazing feats. From the looks of it, people called hunters utilize nen to augment their bodies or to create desired effects like creating chains connected to their bodies to attack and defend. He found this restricting, but the idea of reinforcing their bodies with nen to increase their speed and strength was something to look into. He placed his hand inside his pocket and created a piece of paper and a pen to avoid displaying his abilities to his classmates. He brought it out and started writing so he could incorporate it into his training. Things to try out. Try to create a gun, or maybe two, and find ways to make use of chakra bullets instead of regular ones. Try making spells if possible. Use chakra magic to enhance his body for attacking and defense. Naruto placed the tip of his pen into his mouth and adopted a thoughtful expression, coming up with new ideas to try out. He noticed that the room was almost full, so he decided to pay attention for now. He folded the paper and placed it back into his pocket along with his created pen. He planned to go over it with Kyubi later to see if it was possible. School ended that afternoon and Naruto could be happier. He expected a lot of things to happen in school, like Irika-sensei teaching them about shinobi stuff, but he could believe how the teacher droned on and on about history in monotone. It was maddening. He decided there and then to send a reinforced Kage Bunshin instead of doing it on his own. He would rather spend time training than sitting for 8 hours being bored to death. His annoyance was picked up by his tenant. "What got you in a foul mood?" asked Kyubi in a groggy voice. It seems that the lazy fox just woke up. This made Naruto's eye twitch. "Where have you been, Baka Fox? I was trying to talk to you for the whole day," spat Naruto in his mind while throwing another fireball at a tree, scorching the bark. Kyubi just shrugged, which caused Naruto's eye to twitch again and another fireball to fly from his outstretched hand. "I was asleep, idiot. Why don't you try staying up all night sorting through information non-stop? Anyway, I shut off the connection between us since I really need to sleep, so stop your cursing and tell me what got your boxers in a twist. You'd be cursing too if you have to spend 8 hours attending a boring class with a boring teacher with an endless boring dialogue of boring Konoha history. Naruto spat, punctuating his annoyance by throwing a fireball on an innocent tree every time he said boring. Well, thankfully I'm not the one attending school now, am I? He, said very smug Bija. I really hate you know that, right? Deadpanned an irate Naruto. I do, came the smug reply. Naruto, age 9, first academy year. The first year in the Shinobi Academy was quite boring for Naruto, or in this case, his clone, who suffered all through the year of boring lectures, though there were some good things that happened to make it more bearable. For starters, he found out that his class contained the clan heirs of his generation, and got to know some of them to the point that he called them friends. His first friend was Nara Shikamaru, and by extension, Akimichi Tsuji. For Naruto, Shikamaru was a lazy genius who loves to sleep during class and watch the clouds outside for hours without getting bored. But behind the lazy exterior is a mind of a genius, especially when they play shogi. Naruto haven't won yet, not even once, though the blonde took that as a challenge and vowed to the lazy Nara that he will beat him someday. All he got from the genius was a lazy, troublesome blonde. Through Shikamaru, he met Akimichi Tsuji, a chubby boy who loves to eat. However, he was warned by Shikamaru that it was taboo to call him fat or chubby unless he wanted to get pounded into the ground. All in all, Naruto had fun hanging out with Tsuji, especially when the Nara is feeling lazy. They spend a lot of time talking, though eating was a common pastime between the two of them. Ichiraku ramen became a favorite hangout for the pair when the Nara isn't available. Another friend he met in the academy was Inuzuka Kiba, the loudmouth boy of the dog clan, along with his pet/partner Akamaru. In most cases, Kiba became Naruto's partner in pranks, with Iruka as their main target. He also tried to make friends with the current Hyuga heir, Hinata, but couldn't get a few words out of her since she would blush a bright red then faint when greeted. This confused Naruto, and a snickering Kyubi wouldn't tell him why the girl always faint when he's around. Despite her shy nature, Hinata hanged out with them but didn't speak much, which was quite alright with Naruto, who inwardly vowed to raise Hinata's confidence in the future. There were other clan heirs in class, but Naruto didn't bother to befriend them for one reason or the other. First, there was the lone Uchiha survivor, Sasuke. He usually spends a lot of time brooding, surrounded by his ever-present fangirls whose squeals and empty platitudes grated on the blonde's nerves, among the two of them being the blonde-haired Yamanaka Ino and the pink-haired Haruno Sakura. He didn't bother to befriend them since they would always berate him for interrupted their Sasuke time every time he spared them a good morning. He decided to leave them alone after the third try. While in the academy, Naruto decided to hide his abilities after being prompted by Kyubi. He was warned to control his bloodline to avoid showing people what he's capable of. In that sense, Naruto performed only enough to land him an average grade, which suited him just fine since Kyubi beat the show-off side of him out of his system years ago. However, not all the time his clone spent in the academy was all dandy. The lessons were alright, but he honestly believed that he could learn more on his own or under the tutelage of his tenant, which was a good idea since he noticed some academy instructors trying to disrupt his education. He liked Iruka, who goes out of his way to help all students, but his partner, Mizuki, seemed to hate Naruto with a passion, judging from the glares he keeps throwing at the blonde. When Iruka wasn't around, Mizuki would go out of his way to disrupt his education, much to Naruto's amusement, placing a genjutsu on his test papers, which was easily dispelled since his reading taught him how to dispel small-scale illusions with ease. Besides, Kyubi informed him that he was technically immune to genjutsu since he has two minds inside his body, with Kyubi being one of them, giving him weighted shurikens and kunais during weapons training, but Naruto countered this easily by making his own, replacing the ones Mizuki let him use while the instructor's back was turned, and of course, sabotaging his taijutsu by teaching him the wrong moves, but he didn't bother to call him out since he already knew the academy taijutsu style by heart, so he just played along. Training, however, was quite fruitful for the blonde. Naruto decided to continue his training following the academy lessons as a guide. Instead of the academy taijutsu, he opted for tai chi since the flowing moves suited him quite well. Ninjutsu was relatively ignored due to his bloodline, but he did learn kawarimi no jutsu, substitution technique, since it could get him out in a pinch if necessary. Of course, the bunshin no jutsu, cloning technique, is replaced by shadow clones, so no worries there. He also vowed to try to learn other supplementary jutsus instead of over-specializing on his natural abilities. When the academy taijutsu style was introduced in class, Naruto took some time off from his busy schedule to check out the various styles available in the Konoha library. He found Tai Chi amongst the dusty tomes in the taijutsu section, and was amazed that such a powerful style was forgotten by the shinobi populace. He read from the scroll that Tai Chi was supposed to be a form of relaxing exercise using flowing moves in sync with your breathing. However, the scroll mentioned that these moves can be used as a devastating dance of defense and offense when practiced to perfection. He immediately dived into the katas with gusto. Along with his taijutsu training, Naruto didn't forget to continue his physical workout. His weight was now at 70 pounds each, that totaled to 280 pounds. He decided to take it slow since he still have 4 more years to get used to it, though he decided to continue wearing weights while doing missions to further improve his strength. According to Mato Guy's training regimen, He will be able to utilize up to 4,000 pounds of weights easily in a few years, but he didn't want to turn bulky. His style is more on speed and agility anyway, so this was no loss, but improving his strength slightly didn't hurt. Of course, Naruto and Kyuubi spent a lot of time practicing with his bloodline to discover various techniques that would be quite useful in the future. Thanks to his physical training regimen, his reserves increased by a large margin, making sure that he can throw his spells without having to worry about getting drained on the field. Kyuubi suggested that he might want to utilize his chakra since it was more powerful than a human, but they decided to postpone that since it could be hazardous instead of beneficial. In terms of training his bloodline, Naruto delegated his clones with a list of abilities he wanted them to try out, while he himself focused on taijutsu and seals. Speaking of which, Naruto was able to finish all the books on the Namikaze set but didn't put them into practice as of yet. According to the book, memorizing already discovered seals is never a work of a master but more of a copycat. So Naruto spent most of his time dissecting the seals and learning each part that made up the whole thing so he can come up with new ones on his own. Right now, his work on seals concentrated more on his plans of incorporating ranged weapons into his armory. 2 guns with similar designs to the protagonist of Black Cat. Instead of bullets and gunpowder, Kyuubi theorized that Naruto can utilize seals to let the gun absorb his already potent chakra, with another set of seals to mold it into a solid construct resembling a bullet, and another seal to launch it. So far, Naruto is still in the planning phase since he is still an amateur on sealing. In regards to his bloodline, Naruto already mastered creation and transformation with only his imagination limiting his ability and mixed it with elemental manipulation. He first started out with fire since he already knew how to create them using his abilities alone. However, transforming them into another shape aside from the usual fireball was a bit harder and requires a lot of concentration to master. However, the most important discovery was the creation of the chakra shield. The idea sprouted when Naruto and Kyuubi was talking about the use of the Bijuu's chakra. The idea was first realized when Kyuubi informed Naruto that use of the first stage of his chakra allowed the formation of a cloak that will cover him from head to toe and taking on a fox-like appearance complete with a tail and a pair of ears. The chakra will solidify around his body to protect him from attacks, as well as being able to manipulate the cloak to attack. Using the fox cloak as a basis, Naruto pushed out his special chakra from his body and slowly manipulated it to form a sphere surrounding him. It took a week to fully solidify the shield, and the first time he asked a clone to attack him with a fireball almost burned him since he was able to duck in time when it pierced the construct. It popped quite easily like that of a balloon. In the end, Kyuubi solved the problem by suggesting that he add more chakra to the shield and condensing it more to withstand attacks. As a form of training, Naruto stood in the center of the clearing with his chakra shield surrounded by clones flinging fireballs at him non-stop. He was able to hold it for 5 minutes under constant barrage, but Kyuubi told him that he can increase its duration and durability with practice, with an added bonus of increasing his chakra reserves since he always drained them after each session, causing his reservoirs to grow and his coils to expand. Naruto age 10, second academy year. Naruto was making his way to training ground 44, lovingly and fearfully referred to as the Forest of Death. He couldn't teleport into the forest since he hasn't been to the place yet, but it could be easily remedied when he gets there. Are you sure about this, Q? Naruto asked fearfully to his furry tenant. Absolutely. You've been training your abilities for years now, but it's all useless if you can't get any real-life practice out of it. Kyuubi replied patiently as if talking to a 5-year-old. Practice? I've been practicing and training since I found out about it, Q. The boy scoffed. Sure you did. The trees back in the clearing were able to give you so much practice that you can use your abilities in real combat. The fox said sarcastically. Shut up, Kit. Trust me in this. If you want to be strong, then you need to test your abilities on moving targets, and I know that this forest has plenty of it for you. Fine. You're right. But how do you know about the forest anyway? Naruto asked fearfully. Naming a forest with very large trees the Forest of Death sound ominous, and doesn't bode well for a boy like him despite his confidence in his abilities. The Shodai Hokage, Hashirama Senju, created the forest using his special bloodline during the founding of Konoha. I knew about it through Mito-sama and Kushina-chan, especially the latter since she spent quite a lot of time in the forest to practice her kenjutsu. Hashirama overpowered his technique, thus the trees are exuding chakra and natural energies, causing the animals in the forest to grow to large sizes and can be quite strong to unsuspecting ninjas. I even learned from Kushina that it's been used quite a lot for the Chunin exams when it is held here in Konoha, explained Kyuubi while relishing in the memories of Kushina slicing her way through large tigers, snakes, and giant insects during her time as a jounin before the Third Shinobi War. Naruto gulped. Large animals were never good, and large, powerful animals don't really inspire much confidence to his abilities to keep himself alive. Are you sure I can handle it? Asked Naruto timidly. Kyuubi rolled his eyes in exasperation. Yes, you can. I have full confidence in your abilities. Besides, I'm here monitoring the situation, so when it gets too dangerous, I can just tell you to teleport out to safety. So stop worrying and get there quick. We don't want to go there at night, since the predators usually come out by then. They're usually bigger than the regular animals that frequent the area. Nothing more was said as Naruto made his way to the training ground of doom, as he started to dub the place he was going to train in the future. When he got there an hour later, he was amazed at the size of the trees. They were huge. Some of the trees were wider than the Hokage Tower and as tall as the Hokage Monument. Holy shit. You said they were big but not that big, said Naruto in awe, though slightly apprehensive at the possible predators lurking in its shadowed foliage. Well, excuse me for not giving you an accurate description of the forest, Kyuubi sarcastically replied. See that fence over there? That marked the boundary of the Forest of Death. Pick an area where you can enter from, then memorize that place as your entry point so you can just teleport in every time you need to practice. Naruto decided to enter through the gate in front of him, Gate 21. The fence was quite imposing and he could tell that it was strengthened with chakra to ensure that the denizens of the forest could not leave their place of residence. Taking in a deep breath, he visualizes the other side of the gate and teleported inside since he couldn't open the gate due to the large lock keeping it closed. He took in a deep breath and let it out slowly to calm himself. Well, here we go, he said resolutely and willed his feet towards the dark foliage of the menacing forest, not noticing the hungry amber eyes tracking his movement. It is harmless, he said. You can get a lot of practice from the animals in the forest, he said. You can do it easily, he said. I hate you, Kyuubi, growled Naruto to his tenant as he ran through the forest floor trying to get away from the man-sized tigers chasing him, hell-bent on turning him into their next meal. I didn't tell you to run. I told you to fight so you can get to practice your abilities, said Kyuubi as he lounged around in the mindscape, clearly amused at his container's plight. I'm only a kid, Q. I'm still in the academy, for crying out loud. Naruto whined as he jumped to avoid a rather large log that could have easily tripped him and put him in the mercy of his pursuers. He landed on the other side and started running again, looking back to see if his pursuers quit the chase. Alas, the tigers easily jumped over the log and continued the chase, this time eyeing him hungrily. It seems that all that running made him even more delicious. Well, if you want to quit now, then leave the forest. Nothing's stopping you, you know, Kyuubi said lazily, though he knew deep inside that his container wouldn't back down from a challenge. He was just too stubborn to do so. Cursing himself for what he was about to do, he activated his chakra shield and turned around, running headlong into the rampaging tigers who he could see was smiling since their meal was coming to them. Unfortunately for the tigers, Naruto's shield was fine-tuned to withstand powerful fireballs and their measly strength couldn't hope to penetrate it to get to their next meal. Naruto barreled through their formation, scattering them with ease. He knew that he had to separate them somehow since he couldn't hope to fight all of them at once, though maybe he could if he really set his mind to it. Not slowing down, continued to run towards a large tree in front of him with some of the tigers hot on his trail. He disengaged the shield and ran up its bark, causing the tiger to stop at the base, looking up to the tree walking boy. As Naruto arrived at the center of the tree, he jumped off and flipped, giving him a complete view of the tigers waiting exactly where he was going to land. Not wasting time, he conjured 10 large fireballs the size of his head and willed them towards the waiting predators. The attack was so fast that only 4 of them were able to evade the fiery barrage while the other 6 was burned to a crisp. Naruto frowned when he saw the 4 remaining tigers were back into formation, ready to attack him when he lands, but he took the initiative to teleport a few meters behind them while activating his chakra shield to make sure that he is well protected from sudden attacks just in case some of them are biding their time under the shadow of the trees. Seeing a large boulder to his left, he used his telekinesis to hurl it towards the group, hitting one of the tigers, causing it to release a painful yelp. From the snap he heard when the boulder, one of the tigers won't be joining the fight anytime soon. The other 3 was lucky enough to dodge the surprise attack. Seeing their formation broken, Naruto created 5 overpowered fireballs and launched them towards the 3 who weren't able to recover in time, burning them to ash. He launched the boulder he used earlier and squished the remaining tiger underneath it. Naruto didn't bother to disengage the shield as he lay panting on the forest floor. Damn. Real-life experience isn't what it cuts out to be, said Naruto as he slumped down on the floor, feeling the adrenaline leaving his body. What do you expect? They aren't your favorite trees, you know. These are predators who would love nothing more than to eat you. This is why you need to practice your abilities with moving opponents so you can train your mind to act fast when the situation demands it. Anyway, you did well on your first try, but you could have done better, mused Kyuubi as he watched the replay of the fight in the mindscape. Yeah? I don't see you running from them or fending them off, he retorted to the obvious jab at his performance. Did it ever occur to you to remove the chakra weights so you can outrun them easily and buy time to come up with an attack plan? Said the fox. The silence that followed was deafening. I rest my case. Naruto decided to go home early to rest his shot nerves after his first foray into the Forest of Death. While in the relative safety of his home, he remembered his actions back in the forest and grudgingly agreed with Kyuubi that it could have gone better. After all, it has never been a good idea to barrel into an enemy if said enemy have skills in their repertoire that can easily negate his shield. Deciding to forego dinner, he went directly to bed while inwardly swearing that he will do better in the future. It has been 3 months since his first attempt in the Forest of Death, and the blonde decided to change his training area from the clearing behind the Hokage Monument to Training Ground 44 for several reasons. 1. Since Kyuubi have upped his training program to include live opponents to practice on. Using a clearing in the middle of Training Ground 44 was a good idea since there were ample supply of live targets for practice. Also, he was forced to train his senses to anticipate potential attacks since the shadows under the trees was so thick that you would never know if a hungry animal was watching you, ready to attack. 2. The Forest of Death was relatively a secret place to train since no one in their right mind would enter it for recreation. He did, however, decided to keep up with the news of possible exams to be held in Konoha to avoid getting discovered. For the past 3 months, Naruto didn't bother to train with his abilities but opted for live combat with the denizens of the forest. His repertoire of battle strategies greatly improved as he engaged combat with large tigers, his favorite, giant spiders, Kyuubi's favorite, gigantic leeches. Both Kyuubi and Naruto shuddered at their slimy-looking bodies, panthers, and the likes. He was also able to fine-tune his skills for battle purposes, like creating a kunai out of the blue and hurl it anywhere where the enemy is and so on. This was also the time that Naruto experimented on the guns. Creating the actual gun was quite easy, but having no idea of the inner mechanism made it impossible for him to actually use it. In the end, Naruto and Kyuubi brainstormed for a month on what's supposed to be inside the weapon so they can start making it work. First, they needed the weapon to be made of chakra metal for it to be conductive enough to absorb his chakra to create the bullet and power the firing mechanism. Since he has no idea how chakra metals work, he had to resort to a blacksmith back in the village to have it created for him. It took a while to come up with a mold for the gun, the barrel, and the piston that served as the firing mechanism until Kyuubi opened up another problem to the project. Money. Naruto cursed when Kyuubi brought up the matter of money to pay for the work needed to create the guns. He knew for a fact that chakra metals were expensive, and having the gun made purely of it was going to bite deep into his wallet. The allowance he gets from the Hokage wasn't even enough to cover his already huge appetite. The fox easily gave him a solution by going out of the village and robbing bandits of their ill-gotten wealth. Naruto immediately saw merit to the plan since he didn't have any plans to work in the village with people not giving him the time of day. It was on the 4th month of his 2nd year in the academy that he was able to complete the mold for his guns. He decided to create them for a teenager's hands since he wouldn't have the resources to make another set when he grew. After finishing the mold, Naruto left the village under the cover of darkness, judiciously using teleport to escape the ANBU sentries watching the rooftop. He stuck to the shadows until he saw the gate, and teleported out of the village to the shadow of the forest just outside Konoha. He went further into the forest and chose a clearing, marking one tree with a Konoha symbol to use it as an entry point just in case he needs to leave the village in the future. After getting that done, he went deep into the forest since there were a lot of rumors in the village that bandits were always camped out in the area so they could pick out merchants to rob. It was 3 hours after midnight that he was able to find a bandit camp as his first target. It wasn't big, there were barely 20 people in the encampment, but Kyuubi assured him that it is bigger than the usual bandit group. He stayed hidden on top of a large tree overlooking the camp and planned out a strategy. It took him a few minutes to make up his mind, but he eventually decided to utilize one of his invisibility spells he perfected a few months back. He teleported behind one of the tents in the camp and immediately cast the spell, rendering him to be virtually undetectable unless they have a chakra sensor in the group. He silently made his way around the camp, checking each tent out for valuables that he could take with him. He hit the jackpot when he reached the largest tent in the camp, clearly the leader's tent since there was a chest filled with jewels and gold coins hidden behind a tarp. Grinning like a loon, Naruto shrunk the chest and teleported back to his apartment before congratulating himself for a job well done. Naruto could believe his luck when he unloaded and counted the amount he stole from the bandit camp. It took him a while to finish counting his loot, but he wasn't disappointed at the result. Aside from the gold coins and jewels, there were a dozen scrolls at the bottom. He recognized the storage seals imprinted on the scrolls and was shocked when he unsealed the items therein. Coins, lots and lots of gold coins that he counted with gusto. He stole around 2 million ryo of coins and an undetermined amount of jewels. It was more than enough for his guns with a lot of leftovers that would tide him over for future projects. He sealed some of the money back into the scrolls and returned them to the chest. He did, however, sealed 500,000 ryo into a scroll that he would bring with him tomorrow when he visits the blacksmith. He slept that night with a large smile on his face. Naruto ducked into an alley just outside his apartment and donned his disguise. He came out looking like a middle-aged man, tastefully clothed with black messy hair and green eyes. In truth, the disguise was an adult version of the one he used to first infiltrate the Konoha library, and would be enough for his plans. He walked the busy streets of Konoha not minding the stares being directed his way. It took him a while to find a blacksmith that worked with chakra metals and have to ask different shops until one pointed him to check out Higurashi weapons since the blacksmith there specialized in working on chakra metals. It didn't take him long to arrive to his destination since he walked all the way. His feet were a bit sore since the store was on the east side of the village, opposite of where his apartment was located. He entered the shop to find a well-muscled man reading a magazine. "Good morning, sir," greeted Naruto. "Good morning. How can I help you?" said the man. "My name is Kurama and I asked around the village for a blacksmith that specializes in chakra metals that accepts custom orders." "Did I get the right place?" asked Naruto. QB supplied him with an alias that he could use with his disguise, instructing him to stick to the persona of a rich nobleman so he can get away with future projects that would be quite dubious for an ordinary citizen. You came to the right place, Kurama-san. My name is Kaido and the owner of Higurashi Weapons. I specialize in chakra metals and I do accept custom orders as long as it's reasonable. Greeted Kaido with a smile on his face. Great. Naruto pulled out a storage scroll and unsealed the molds inside. This caused Kaido to raise an eyebrow. Are you by chance a ninja? Asked the blacksmith, since no civilian can use storage scrolls due to their lack of chakra. No, I'm not, but I hired a shinobi during my youth to teach me the basics of chakra so I can use the various tools available to them. I am a collector of sorts and I prize knowledge above anything else. Lied Naruto. Kaito nodded, accepting the explanation. Oh, okay. So what are these for? Asked Kaido, indicating the molds on the counter. Naruto gave him a sheepish look. These are the molds that I created for a weapon called a gun that I read from one of the few rare books that I have in my disposal. From what I discovered, guns were used before the time of the Rikudo Sennin, so I wanted to recreate them to add to my collection. He explained, which got a nod from the Kaido, asking him to continue. This mold is the chassis for the gun, while this one over here are the mechanisms that are supposed to make it shoot small metal balls called bullets. I have no intentions of using these weapons since the information for it was lacking, but I want to have a partially working model to add to my collection. Oh yeah, I want them made using chakra metals since I want the best. Finished Naruto with an excited look on his face. Kaido frowned when the customer mentioned chakra metals. Are you sure? Chakra metals are quite expensive to use and the cost for such detailed creations can be quite pricey. Mused Kaido, calculating the total cost of the project in his head. Naruto just waved the concern away. Money is not a problem. I only want the best for my collection, and nothing is better than chakra metals according to my experience. He said haughtily, though the grin on his face told Kaido that he wasn't a stuck-up nobleman. Kaido laughed. Fine. Since you don't seem to care much for the cost, then I'll gladly take this project. Do you have the schematics so I can put these together after I take them out of the mold? From the looks of parts, it seems that you want it so that it can be disassembled on a whim, correct? Asked Kaido as he eyed the second mold with a calculating look. Naruto nodded and pulled out a scroll from one of his pockets and handed it to the shop owner, who took it and read the content. That's the blueprint I copied from the book I got back at the estate. This should help you correct potential problems that come up during its creation. Are there any questions? He asked. Kaido shook his head while checking the notes on the blueprint. No. The notes are pretty clear and the blueprint will be a great help to fine-tune the item. Now let's talk about the price. You're lucky that I just got a delivery of chakra metals from Tetsu no Kuni, Iron Country, and they are the best when it comes to chakra metals. The total cost for the metals alone would be 250,000 ryo for each item. From the detailed work, I will charge you 100,000 ryo each. Declared Kaido, eyeing his potential customer if he wanted to back out of the deal. It was an expensive project and no sane man would dish out that amount, collection or not. Naruto grinned and pulled out the scroll containing his money and tossed it to Kaido, who caught it in surprise. There's 500,000 ryo there. That should cover the cost for the metals of the two guns. I'll consider that as down payment. I will give you 200,000 ryo upon completion. Is that agreeable? Kaito nodded with a large grin of excitement on his face. Agreed. For the two guns, give me a week to get it done since I can devote all my time to the order without other projects to tie me down. I'll get started on them right away. Come back next week to get your toys. Naruto nodded and held out his hands to Kaido, who took it immediately, thus sealing the deal. He left the shop, happy with his accomplishment. Naruto didn't leave the apartment for a week as he labored on the seals he would be inscribing on his new guns. He finalized the chakra-absorbing seal that he will be placing on the handle of the gun, as well as a network of conduction seals to transfer the power to the barrel, surrounded with compression seals to shape the transferred energy to a ball. He modified the seals slightly to add a thick coating of chakra to the suppressed energy so it won't detonate when it comes into contact with the altered exploding seal at the end of the piston to launch it from the barrel. The chakra shield will thin out upon contact with the exploding seal that will propel it out of the gun at amazing speeds. However, it will still retain a small amount of coating that is strong enough to retain the shape of the bullet that will explode upon impact with a solid object. QB theorized that the shield will still retain its shape when it encounters human skin depending on its hardness, thus giving it the ability to pierce. To simplify the explanation from the fox, the bullet will retain its shield to partially solidify the bullet to pierce through flesh, but will explode when it hits something solid enough to destroy the chakra coating. It took a lot of trial and error, as well as a lot of explosion here and there, to complete the necessary seals for the gun. All it needs is to be applied to the weapon and the testing will commence. Naruto went back to Higurashi Weapons to get his babies, but he noticed that Kaito wasn't at the counter. Instead, a girl his age was manning the cash register while reading a novel. "Hi, is Kaito-san around?" Naruto asked the girl. She was rather cute in Naruto's opinion, especially with the two buns on her head holding her hair in place. She was wearing a pink Chinese outfit that Naruto found to be amazing on her build. "Hello? My dad is in his workshop working on something. I can get him for you if you like," offered the girl with a smile on her face. Naruto returned the smile and nodded. Thank you? Can you tell him that Kurama is here for his orders? The girl nodded and pushed herself up from her seat and went to the back. She returned 5 minutes later with Kaido in tow, who grinned at the sight of him. Kurama-san. You're just in time. I just finished the details of your order, so why don't we go to the back so you can check the merchandise? Said Kaido with a shit-eating grin on his face. It seemed that Naruto's order made the man feel he was in heaven. Naruto nodded and Kaido led him to the back of the shop where his workshop was located. There on the work table were his babies, 2 guns on top of a white cloth in all its naked glory. The excited boy under the man's disguise examined the finished product. He couldn't deny the fact that Kaido did a good job with each piece and the assembly was exquisite. He followed through with the specifications indicated on the blueprint. One gun was pure black and the other pure white. The front of trigger was angular, forming a shield to protect his hands and can be used as a shield to deflect any weapons swung his way. All in all, he loved what he saw. They are beautiful, Kaido-san. You followed my specifications down to the letter, said Naruto breathlessly as he hefted one of the guns, testing its weight, and found it to be to his liking. I thought they would be heavier considering how heavy chakra metal is. I know. I finished both of them yesterday and noticed that it was quite heavy after assembly, so I took the liberty to add an anti-gravity seal at the bottom of the handle to make it weigh lighter. After all, you wouldn't want to sprain your wrist while playing with them, said Kaido with a grin. Naruto nodded since he knew that the anti-gravity seal would not get in the way of the other seals he planned to incorporate into the weapons. He placed the gun back on the table and pulled out a scroll containing 300,000 ryo and handed it to the blacksmith. There's 300,000 ryo on that scroll. 200,000 for the custom job and 100,000 as a bonus. These are works of art, and it's only natural for me to give you a bonus for a job well done, said Naruto with a smile on his face. He really liked the finished product and vowed to come to Kaido if he planned to do similar projects in the future. Kaido grinned and accepted the praise and money. He took out a decorated box on the shelf on top of his work table. He opened the box to reveal a soft padding underneath, large enough to hold 2 guns. He hefted the 2 weapons and placed them inside the box before replacing the lid. He handed the box to his customer. Thanks for the praise. It was an honor to work on such fine pieces. Too bad we couldn't get them to work. They would be quite powerful on the field, but they are great weapons nonetheless. You're welcome, Kaido-san, said Naruto before his face turned serious. Can I ask you to keep the creation of the gun a secret? If the design falls into the wrong hands, then it could be disastrous for the village. I love Konoha and wouldn't want her enemies to find a way to get these guns working against her. Kaido nodded with a solemn look on his face. I agree. I will take this secret to the grave if need be. You have my word on that, Kurama-san. Naruto nodded and shook Kaido's hand before leaving the shop after some promising that he will be returning for other works he might come up with in the future. Naruto teleported to the clearing behind the Hokage monument after ducking into a deserted alley a block away from Kaito's shop. Eager to get the inscribing done and testing his babies, he created a makeshift workshop and unsealed his tools on the table. He immediately got to work. He started by disassembling the gun to its individual parts. First, he inscribed the chakra-absorbing seals and conduction seals on the handle towards the frame of the barrel that would create the bullets. It took him 2 hours to get this done since he wanted to avoid any mistakes that could damage the weapons. Next, he took up the bullet barrel and inscribed the outside with the modified chakra compression seals. This task alone took an hour and a half. The next was the most painstaking of them all, inscribing the exploding seal on the piston that would launch the chakra bullet out of the gun. He needed to create a magnifying glass and have it levitate on top of the piston so he could use his hands to inscribe the needed seal. This took him an hour. Thankfully, he had the foresight to make a miniature version of his tools beforehand. Lastly, he added reinforcement and durability seals on the rest of the gun so they would hold together despite the shock and recoil once the bullet is fired. Kyubi gave his 2 cents in adding a blood seal on the gun to make sure that only he and his descendants were the only ones who could use the weapon and avoid theft or used against him. Tired from inscribing the seals, Naruto pushed on to put the gun together again and marveled at the finished product. The gun itself was beautiful, but the seals engraved on its casing increased the detail of the gun. He christened the black gun Ebony and the white one Ivory. It was time to test the guns to see if they worked according to their schematics. He lifted the finished guns off the table and vanished the work area with a single thought. He looked around and saw a large tree 30 meters away from him and decided that it would serve well for target practice. He raised Ebony and channeled chakra to his hands. He felt the seals doing its work and pulled the trigger. A ball of blue chakra flew from the gun towards the tree, which took a large chunk out of the trunk in a small explosion. Naruto's jaw dropped. Whoa! That was so cool! He exclaimed, looking alternately at the destroyed tree and the smoking gun withal. That it is, Kit. I guess all our planning was successful. Congratulations. You have the only guns in existence and undeniable a powerful weapon amongst those found in the elemental countries, praised Kyubi, clearly impressed at the power of the guns in Naruto's hands. Naruto experimented more with his new toys and found out some unplanned quirks to the design. For starters, rapid firing is only possible if he used regular chakra bullets utilizing very small chakra. It didn't pack enough power to pierce, but it would be enough to inflict blunt force trauma to his enemies. More powerful, larger bullets require charging time. The longer the charge, the more powerful the bullet and explosion would be. The overpowered bullet has the capacity of an exploding tag if powered enough, which was quite obvious when a tree was obliterated into splinters after firing one such bullet. Naruto noticed that the stronger bullets have a powerful recoil that blew him off his feet upon firing. Kyuubi told him to channel chakra to the ground to keep him in place. Naruto decided to avoid firing such powerful bullets in midair since that would throw him quite a ways if he's not careful. After testing the capabilities of ebony and ivory, Naruto conjured different target dummies around the clearing and started firing. He found out that his accuracy was a bit off, but he can easily practice with his guns to get them up to par with his throwing. At the end of the day, Naruto teleported back to his apartment, carefully placing ebony and ivory on the table, watching them with a loving smile on his face before going to bed, tired but happy with the new additions to his repertoire. Time skip. Naruto age 11, 3rd Academy year. For Naruto, the end of the 3rd Academy year was anticlimactic to say the least. Sure, the lesson got interesting enough that he didn't get bored, and the inclusion of spars, chakra theory and control, and exercises on various throwing weapons took up the time that he usually spends zoning out or outright sleeping, much to the ire of Irika. During the 3rd year, Naruto didn't bother to reveal any of his secrets, or how strong he really is. His daily training in the Forest of Death yielded great results, especially with his use of ebony and ivory, who were currently sealed in the palms of his hands. Kyuubi suggested the use of gun holsters like the one in the manga, but Naruto decided against it since it can be stolen or removed from his person, so he wanted to avoid that using storage seals. Also, Naruto decided to improve his standing in the academy since it would be impossible at this point to hide anything and ruin his chances of graduating. Despite Mizuki's attempt of destroying his future career, he was placed 4th in his class due to his very accurate throws, winning spars, though he decided to lose once in a while to keep up the facade, as well as omitting some answers from the written test to get an above-average grade just below perfect. Training with his abilities also went back on schedule after mastering the use of his guns. His accuracy improved after a year of practice in the Forest of Death, though he refrained from killing the local wildlife using low-powered chakra bullets to simply stun his opponents since he didn't want to depopulate the area. However, he did love blowing up the giant spiders with overpowered bullets. He personally started reading Black Cat since he wanted to come up with new skills for his weapons. The rail gun in particular caught his attention. He was thankful that the manga provided a detailed description of the ability, but he didn't bother to practice it as of yet since he needed to utilize Raiton, lightning, chakra to duplicate the feat. Kyuubi vested a keen interest in Steven's suitcase of destruction. Kyuubi named it himself considering how much weapon he could store in its confines, and wouldn't shut up about it. In the end, Naruto promised Kyuubi that he would experiment with such weapons in the future if there's time. Training in his bloodline didn't produce much, but enough to gain a slight mastery to skills he discovered that will give him an edge when out in the field. For starters, his chakra shield is now an almost automatic mechanism once he developed a form of sixth sense to danger due to his training in the dangerous forest. Kyuubi theorized that his bloodline was semi-sentient in a way that it modified the shield, tying it directly to Naruto's danger sense for automatic activation. It didn't usually activate on a whim as demonstrated when a tiger pounced on him while he was busy setting up camp, but it did save him a second time. Another discovery of his chakra magic is body enhancement. Most ninjas utilize chakra control to enforce their body for defense, or release a burst of chakra on their kicks and punches for devastating results. Naruto's version was quite different. He can infuse his body with chakra magic to the point that he can automatically call it to anywhere in his person to attack. He felled a lot of trees in the Forest of Death with either a punch or a kick. The only downside to this is that it takes up a lot of chakra to do despite the control he has, so he has to use it sparingly unless he wanted to pass out from exhaustion. He wanted to achieve the same level of strength as displayed by Tsunade of the Sannin, but Kyuubi told him that the technique requires perfect chakra control, which is impossible for Naruto since his reserves continues to grow with training and age. His experimentation with the elements didn't yield any results. It seems that he hit a dead end with his experimentation with fire, and the other elements proved disastrous for his health, so he's stuck with fireballs for now. Kyuubi told him that he would need to train in elemental chakra manipulation, which is often reserved to jounin ranks before he can move on to experimenting with such abilities, like elemental conjuration. Naruto was currently relaxing in his apartment, taking a break from his training. The 3rd Academy just finished, and they were given 2 months of break until the next semester rolls in. He was about to go into a well-deserved nap when a knock on the door stopped that plan. Grumbling, he rolled himself off the couch and stood up, rolling his shoulders to work out the kinks of lying down all afternoon. He went to the door and opened it, revealing an ANB wearing a Nico mask. "Yes? How can I help you?" said Naruto tiredly while rubbing his eye. He really wanted to go back to his comfortable couch and take a nap. Kyuubi wanted to do the same if the ranting echoing in his mind was of any indication. "Uzumaki-san, the Hokage would like to see you in his office as soon as possible," replied Nico. Naruto nodded. "Sure thing, Nico. I can go there by myself. I just need to change my clothes," said Naruto, but paused when he thought of something. Do you want to come in so we can go together? I think you already know that I have my own form of transportation. Nico nodded and stepped into the room. Thank you, Uzumaki-san. Please call me Naruto. Everyone does. Give me a minute to change, then we can go visit Gigi, said Naruto before going back to his room to change. It was 5 minutes later that Naruto came out of his room wearing a dark blue shirt and black cargo pants. He walked over to Nico, who was standing by the door in attention, though it was quite obvious that the ANB was looking around observing the rich furniture and fixtures around his apartment, and held out his hand. Ready? I can take us there faster instead of taking the rooftops. Nico nodded and grasped the offered hand before Naruto teleported them to the Hokage's office. Both appeared in front of a startled Hokage, though Nico was swaying a bit from disorientation. What in the world was that? Asked a clearly disgruntled ANBU. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. That was my teleportation technique. I can appear and disappear anywhere I want as long as I know the place. Sorry for not giving you any warnings. This is my first time bringing a passenger along for the ride. Naruto apologized to the ANBU, who he was sure was giving him a glare. It's alright. Just inform me in advance if you're planning to do that again, she said before melting into the shadows, disappearing from view. This caught Naruto's interest. Now that's an interesting trick. I wonder if I can do the same thing? Mused Naruto, eyes not leaving the shadow where Nico disappeared from. He was interrupted from his thoughts by a cough from the Hokage. Hello, Naruto-kun. Glad of you to come on such short notice. Please sit so we can get started, said the Hokage, giving Naruto a smile which the boy happily returned. So Gigi? Why did you call me? Asked the boy as he made himself comfortable in his seat. Well, 2 things really. 1, I miss talking to you since I know you've been busy training and having your clone attend the academy, the Hokage said offhandedly. This startled Naruto. How in the world did you find out? Shouted Naruto in surprise. The Hokage gave him a mysterious smile. I know a lot of hidden things going on in my village, Naruto-kun, so you sending in a clone to class were not a secret to me. I do applaud you for maximizing your resources to avoid stunting your growth in class while training your abilities, said the aged leader. Anyway, I want to know what you've been up to and I want to test your skills for something I have in mind for the future, finished the Hokage in a cryptic manner that caused Naruto and Kyuubi to raise an eyebrow. Well, you already know that I send a shadow clone to the academy every day to attend class for me while I train in the forest to further explore my abilities, said Naruto, a bit hesitant in revealing the location of his new training ground in the Forest of Death. The Hokage smiled at the half-truth. You don't have to worry, Naruto-kun. I know that you've been training in the Forest of Death for more than a year now. In fact, one of my trusted jounin who practically lived in the forest reported your presence there to me, so I know what you've been up to. This revelation surprised Naruto. It seems that his secret place wasn't so secret after all. I know what you've been training, and the reports I've been getting from this jounin told me that you have some new skills in your arsenal that proved to be quite interesting. This is why I want to test you myself to see what you're capable of. This confused Naruto a bit. Why do you want to test me, Gigi? And what is this plan you mentioned? He asked in a confused voice. That is for me to know and for you to find out in the future, so why don't we go to this clearing of yours in training ground 44 so we can get started, said the Hokage while standing up from his chair, holding out his hand to Naruto, clearly in order to teleport them to the location. Naruto nodded and grasped his surrogate grandfather's hand and teleported the both of them to his training area. When they arrived, Naruto let go of the old man who was looking around the clearing, noting the destruction of the area that he mused must be the result of Naruto's training. You really massacred the place, Naruto-kun, said Sarutobi while curiously looking at one tree that was littered with finger-like holes. Naruto scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. Sorry, Gigi. I usually go all out in my training, said Naruto with an embarrassed smile on his face. The Hokage nodded in approval. Good. We are going to have a small spar to demonstrate your skills. I hope you won't disappoint, Naruto, he said before jumping back and took off his robe, revealing that he was wearing his battle armor underneath. Naruto was shocked at the old man's garb but decided to concentrate on the spar. He launched himself forward and started the attack with a palm thrust to the Hokage's chest, who easily swept it aside with a hand, then lashing out with a punch. Naruto barely sidestepped the counter and wasn't able to pay attention to the rest of the old man's body, who launched a kick that hit him on the rib, propelling him away. Ouch. That hurts. For an old man, he packs quite a kick, thought Naruto with a wince as he flew to the air and landed on the ground with a thud which caused him to empty the air in his lungs. He could already feel Kyuubi's chakra being diverted to his ribs, numbing the pain and healing the damage while taking a deep breath to steady himself. You might want to take this seriously, Kit. The old man isn't pulling any punches. Look out! Shouted Kyuubi. Naruto looked up after Kyuubi's warning and saw the old man going through hand seals and taking in a deep breath before launching a large fireball heading his way. Seeing that he couldn't evade the attack in time, Naruto immediately activated his chakra shield, effectively protecting him from the inferno, but the force of the attack pushed him back a few feet. Not wanting to give the old man any time to launch another attack, he kept his shield up and conjured 5 fireballs around his body, feeding it more chakra, causing them to grow in size. Back at ya, Gigi! He shouted as he thrust his hand forward, launching the fireballs towards the old man who was smirking and going through another set of seals. You're too young to pull a fast one on me, Naruto-kun. Doton, mud wall, he shouted before slamming his hand on the ground, causing a wall of solidified mud to rise up in front of him to protect himself from the attack. The two techniques collided, causing a shockwave, but the wall survived with only a few cracks. Taking advantage of the loss of vision, Naruto channeled a bit of chakra to the seal on his right palm, causing ebony to appear in a puff of smoke. He pointed the gun at the wall and channeled a lot of chakra into the pistol before pulling the trigger. The overpowered chakra bullet raced through the air and hit the wall of earth, causing a large explosion that destroyed the earthen shield. The Hokage was lucky enough to jump out of the way when he sensed the large amounts of chakra being used by the boy. What was that? He shouted as he landed to Naruto's left, eyeing the smoking gun the boy was holding with awe and confusion. Naruto grinned and faced the old man. Meet one of my babies, Gigi. This one's name is Ebony. He introduced his now revealed ace in the hole by pointing it at the Hokage, who was standing at the ready. He raised his left hand and brought out Ivory in another puff of smoke. This beauty over here is Ivory. He pointed it to the Hokage, who was now quite nervous at the unknown weapons being aimed at him. Now dance for me, Gigi. He cackled and started raining low-powered bullets at the Hokage, who was dancing around trying to avoid the barrage of bullets, who he knew would hurt like hell if he got hit. How in the world is that boy doing this? What are those weapons he's using? I haven't seen anything like it before in my entire life. The Hokage mentally shouted as he increased his speed to evade the bullets coming from the trigger-happy blonde. Naruto stopped shooting, but he charged a shitload of chakra to his handguns. Double gun attack. Twin explosion, he shouted before pulling on the trigger. Two large balls of chakra exploded from the tips of the guns, which caused Naruto to be blown back as the recoil was too much for his chakra-laced feet to contain. The astonished Hokage jumped away from the impact zone as the two bullets hit the ground he was standing on, causing a very large explosion that shook the trees in the clearing. The smoke cleared, revealing a 10-meter crater where he once stood. He looked at the crater and at Naruto, who was picking himself off the forest floor with both guns smoking from the attack. That was quite a powerful attack, Naruto, but it would take more than that to defeat me. The Hokage boasted, but he was secretly worried at the amount of damage the boy was making. If one of those bullets hit him, then he's done for, Hokage or not. Naruto pulled himself off the ground and mentally berated himself for not channeling enough chakra to his feet. He heard the Hokage praise his attack but boasted that it wasn't enough to bring him down. He decided right there and then to call for reinforcements. I'm not done yet, Gigi. He waved his hand while holding Ivory towards some rocks beside him, resulting to 10 very large white tigers to appear growling at a shocked Hokage. He sent a mental order for them to attack while bracing himself on the ground, deactivating his shield to conserve energy, and channeling chakra to his guns to prepare for another barrage. The Hokage was surprised by the sudden appearance of the tigers, chalking it up to Naruto's transformation skills. He jumped back to avoid the lunging tigers while already thinking up of a plan to breach Naruto's defenses. One of the tigers got too close for comfort, but he was able to sidestep the clawed swipe and launched a kick that hit the tiger on the ribs and propelled it towards a tree that cancelled the transformation upon impact. He channeled some chakra to his feet and jumped up in the air to avoid another group attack while going through a set of seals ending in a tiger seal, which was quite ironic since he was facing such beasts. Katon, mythical phoenix fire, shouted the Hokage as he drew a deep breath, then releasing a dozen head-sized fireballs that nailed the tigers, blowing them up. He sensed an attack coming from Naruto, so he immediately jumped to the side upon landing and started running since the boy was raining him with chakra bullets, while cackling like a madman, which resulted in the Hokage questioning the blonde's sanity. He went through another series of hand seals while evading the bullets. When Naruto stopped the attack, as he hoped, he immediately slammed both of his hands on the ground while shouting out his latest technique. Doton, Fist of the Earth God. Naruto was confused when nothing happened after the Hokage shouted the technique. He looked around, not seeing anything except for a smirking old man. He was about to say something, but the ground he was standing on rumbled before a large fist made of rock and earth burst from the ground beneath that almost destroyed him if not for the automatic activation of his shield. He thanked whatever god was listening that his semi-sentient shield acted in time. However, the impact was so powerful that it lifted him to the air and dispelled the shield, leaving him quite open. He didn't get to do anything else when the old man appeared on top of him and attacked with an axe kick that hit him on the stomach, launching him back to earth, causing a small shockwave when he impacted the forest floor. Naruto was dazed after the attack and the pain on his stomach was excruciating. He was about to pull himself off the forest floor but stopped when he felt the cold metal of a kunai on his neck, courtesy of a grim-faced Sarutobi. Yield, said the Hokage in a voice that brooked no nonsense. Cannot think of any strategy to get out of his current condition since he was still 2 days from the attack to properly teleport to safety. He nodded in defeat. The Hokage smirked and pulled the knife away from the boy's neck and held out a hand, which the blonde gratefully accepted and pulled him up. That was a great spar, Naruto-kun. I can see that you've come a long way on your training, but you still have a few holes that need to be corrected, said Sarutobi with a small smile on his lips. Naruto groaned and held up both his hands, willing his chakra magic to call to his weapons. It didn't take long for the two guns to appear in his hands, with the curious Hokage giving it a careful look. "You're too strong, Gigi. Nothing I did had any effect on you," moaned Naruto as he rubbed his stomach as if willing for the pain to go away. The Hokage let off a hearty laugh while clapping the blonde on the back, which made the boy wince in pain since his body was still aching from the impact. "Well, I'm not named the Hokage for nothing, my boy. I have the strength and experience to back up my title despite my old body. Besides, you didn't put much thought to your attacks, but we can correct that with proper training." "Huh!" was Naruto's genius reply. "I'm going to be training you for the 2 months before you start your 4th year in the academy. The training I'm planning to put you through will be to hone your skills to make them more effective in battle. I could never deny the fact that you are strong, possibly even Jounin level, but you didn't put too much strategy on your attacks that resulted in your downfall. So do you accept?" he asked. Naruto just nodded, since there was nothing he could do to refute the old man's explanation of the spar. Besides, it's not every day one is offered a personalized training with the Hokage, and he wasn't that stupid to turn it down. 2 months of training. Naruto made up his mind. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage, is a sadistic sensei. After the spar, the old man gave him a few minutes to recuperate before asking the blonde to teleport them back to his office. When they arrived, the Hokage started asking questions about the blonde's bloodline and abilities. He was forever curious about the guns, ebony and ivory, so he asked the boy on their capabilities. Needless to say, the Hokage was shocked that the boy was able to turn a weapon from a comic book into a real-life weapon, a very powerful and versatile weapon judging from the results of the spar. The Hokage couldn't help but praise Naruto for his ingenuity and his knowledge on seals. The blonde sucked it up like a sponge, boosting his ego, but it deflated when the Hokage told him that the weapon was wasted on a trigger-happy moron like him. Kyuubi laughed so hard that he was rolling around the mindscape, much to the blonde's annoyance. The Hokage gave Naruto a complete rundown of his abilities in the spar. Judging from his abilities, he was ranked from mid-chunin to low jounin, but his lack of experience placed him on low chunin. Despite the massive drop in ranking, Naruto grinned like a loon since he was quite powerful for someone his age. His ego, however, took another beating when the Hokage listed down his faults. 1. Naruto is overconfident in his abilities that he just charges ahead and hoping for the best. 2. Aside from having his abilities tested in the field, mostly against predators in the Forest of Death, there is no actual combat experience in using it against another shinobi who have their own set of skills that could possibly counter his own. 3. His guns were quite powerful as a weapon due to the versatility of its power and range, as well as its durability to be used as a shield to block melee and throwing weapons aimed at him. However, it is useless in the hands of a shinobi who didn't bother to use his head and prefers to just shower the area with bullets that could easily hit his allies. 4. His dependency towards his abilities that he didn't bother to learn elemental jutsus, which was quite stupid according to the Hokage, since a good shinobi always learn things that he or she will possibly need in the field. In other words, Naruto overspecialized, and that made him overconfident. The 2 months of training was an eye-opener for the blonde Jinchuriki. Thanks to the application of shadow clones, he and the Hokage spend most of the day in training while their clones are in the academy and doing paperwork. The first week of training was a test of Naruto's abilities, which includes taijutsu, genjutsu, and ninjutsu. The Hokage praised him on learning the Tai Chi style because it was one of the most powerful and balanced styles in existence. According to him, Naruto's forms were perfect and smooth, but the lack of actual battle experience hindered him from mastering the style. The Hokage told him that he would correct that with a daily morning spar throughout their training session. Naruto's ninjutsu sucked since he only bothered to teach himself 3 of them: Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Kawarimi no Jutsu, and Henji no Jutsu. Sure, it was enough to pass the academy, but the Hokage told Naruto that he should have branched out since he had plenty of time to train, plus his stealthy access to the Konoha library, unofficially of course, that he gave his full permission. With that in mind, the Hokage tested Naruto on his elemental affinity, and found out that the blonde has a powerful attunement towards wind. He commanded Naruto to create 100 clones every day to start with the leaf-cutting exercise in the Forest of Death, while the original focuses on the actual training with the Hokage. The Hokage could understand why Naruto sucked at genjutsu. The Jinchuriki just had too much chakra for the finesse and subtlety of illusions. He praised Naruto in learning how to counter illusions, but told Naruto that he needed to undergo more strenuous chakra control exercises so he can easily detect and dispel them better. In the end, it took 100 clones to find a lake or river to practice water walking. Kyuubi berated himself for not teaching his container during their training program. It was during their second week of training that Sarutobi gave Naruto his birthright, the Uzumaki and Namake's scrolls, which contained all the techniques that his mother and father possessed, as well as the money they managed to save during their lifetime, which was quite sizable to say the least. Naruto was a bit teary-eyed after receiving something from his parents. He asked the Hokage if his parents had any house or land to occupy, but the Hokage told him that they only lived in a modest apartment in the village, though his father took up residence in the Hokage mansion during his short tenure as Hokage. This didn't depress Naruto since he loved his apartment anyway, but he was already thinking on buying a plot of land somewhere in the village so he could build his own house in the future. After all, He is to be given a clan head status upon reaching Chunin, so he needed to have a clan house for him and his future families. Speaking of scrolls, Naruto didn't bother to learn anything from the Namikaze scrolls as of yet, but concentrated more on his mother's techniques. Uzumaki Kushina had a water affinity, so she had a sizable repertoire of water techniques for Naruto to learn from. However, what caught his attention was Kushina's ability to produce chakra chains that have the power to detain anything, even a rampaging Bijou at full power. Kyuubi told him that he only had a minor ability for this, enough to create chains to restrict enemy movements, but he could easily utilize his ability to strengthen it if he wanted to. With that in mind, Naruto delegated some clones to manifest the chains and improve it. While the clones were busy on their own task, the real Naruto was busy training under the sadistic Hokage. His chakra weights were up to 100 pounds each, much to the blonde's chagrin and the Hokage's amusement. That totaled to 400 pounds of body weight while running laps, doing push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, and sparring. It was only thanks to the healing capability granted to him by Kyuubi that he survived. This was only for the morning session. The after session was on specialization training, his guns. The Hokage told him that he had a plan in the future, and that it requires Naruto's complete mastery of his weapons. The blonde pestered the old man about the details involved, but the aged Hokage didn't budge and promised to reveal it to the boy when he attains the rank of genin. It was during the second week that Naruto broached the subject to the Hokage about his project regarding his gun's abilities. He told the Hokage about the concept of a rail gun as he read in the manga, Black Cat. The Hokage didn't voice out his opinion considering that it was in the realm of impossibility, but he thought that Naruto could possibly achieve such a goal since his bloodline had a nasty habit of making the impossible possible. It was then that the Hokage taught Naruto the lightning affinity exercise, which was to power up a light bulb using lighting chakra alone. The Hokage warned him that this will be difficult, almost next to impossible, since the blonde have a wind affinity which was opposite to lightning. This didn't deter the blonde since he was adamant to have a powerful gun technique under his belt, so he designated another 100 of his clones for the job. Thankfully, he didn't have to spend any money on light bulbs since his clones can just create them out of nothing thanks to chakra magic. The third week of the training program was dedicated to Naruto applying his bloodline to a battle scenario. Thankfully, his clones were able to materialize the chakra chains from his mother's bloodline, though the Hokage mentioned that it felt a lot weaker compared to Kushina's version. His abilities were tested to their limits during their morning spar. Naruto was forced to utilize his creation ability along with telekinesis to create weapons out of nothing and have them attack the experienced leader with gusto. Knives, swords, spears, and other weapons were casually being created and tossed around in the field to the point that Naruto could subconsciously control his telekinesis after 2 months of training. Speaking of telekinesis, it was on their 4th week that Naruto was able to utilize it to the point that he could levitate himself off the ground. He unconsciously unlocked the ability when the Hokage launched him off the ground with a powerful kick, and a clone appearing in midair punched him towards the ground. In fear of turning into a bloody pancake, he subconsciously stopped himself from being splattered, floating 5 feet off the ground. This excited the Hokage so much that he ordered Naruto to experiment with the ability during his afternoon specialization session. The blonde Jinchuriki didn't mind since he found it an exhilarating experience to fly, so their training ground was littered with clones zooming around in the air, much to the Hokage's amusement. The 5th week was the debut of the rail gun. Naruto was grateful that the technique didn't require advanced lightning chakra manipulation since his gun's properties and seals magnified the small amount of lightning chakra he channeled into it. From what he and Kyuubi found out, the gun stores the electricity thanks to the conductive properties of chakra metal. If used like a regular chakra bullet, the lightning chakra surrounds the chakra bullet, magnifying its coating's durability by 10. At the same time, the electricity running through the gun acts as an accelerator that increases the propelling factor by 20. Once fired, the electricity-enforced bullet would travel at Kage-level speeds and piercing anything it encounters thanks to the reinforced coating. He tried it out, and both the blonde and the Hokage couldn't help but be amazed when the bullet sped out of the gun tip, piercing 15 trees before exploding on the 16th. However, as powerful the ability is, there were drawbacks that both Naruto and the Hokage noted. 1. It takes quite a while for Naruto to produce enough lightning chakra to power the rail gun. Upon experimentation, each gun requires 2 minutes of charging time before it can be fired. 2. The rail gun cannot be overcharged, like Naruto's twin explosion technique. It was just a regular chakra bullet reinforced with lightning chakra. But despite the weakness, Naruto couldn't be happier with the new addition to his arsenal. On the 6th week of training, Naruto learned a couple of wind techniques courtesy of his foray into the shinobi section of the Konoha library. He didn't bother to learn them all but chose instead to pick those that would supplement his lack of jutsus. His first technique was Futon, Grand Breakthrough, a C-rank technique that causes a huge gust of wind that can throw any enemies off their feet, granted that they didn't stick to the ground with their chakra. It can also serve as a distraction so he can follow up with his guns. Another technique he learned is Futon, Wind Blades, another C-rank technique that creates multiple blades of wind that can cause minor to medium risk wounds on an enemy. He specifically chose this technique because his arsenal lacked anything that slices an enemy since most of his gun's abilities involve piercing or explosions. It was on the last week of training that he mastered the minor chakra chains he got from his mother. He could create chains from his hands that could bind or attack an enemy from close to mid-range. He added his bloodline to the technique by adding a kunai-like blade at the tip of the chain to give it an extra boost in attack. Kyubi had an idea from one of the manga that Naruto's clones read in the library about a ninjutsu that uses chains attached to his hands. Even if he can't incorporate the different abilities of the ninjutsu into his own chains, the ability to create them on a whim and added durability would go a long way in his career. With that idea in mind, Naruto vowed to visit Kaido again in the future once they have a solid plan in place. The 2 months of training ended to be fruitful for Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. He didn't learn much in terms of techniques and abilities, but the Hokage was able to refine his current abilities to the point that he could give the old man a run for his money, though the boy still loses all the time. Sarutobi Hiruzen was enjoying the vibrating chair Naruto created for him as his clones labored over the paperwork. The 2 months vacation he spent training Naruto was quite an eye-opener for the old leader. It wasn't every day that you experience a new bloodline in action, and Naruto's chakra magic defied any known logic with an opportunity to improve without any limit. His gaze lingered over a folder that he set up a year back when he learned of the blonde's ability. He knew that Naruto's bloodline will not be so well received when the council learns of it. This is one of the reasons why he decided to create his own private team of shinobis that is only under him in command, the Tokubetsu Brigade. The Tokubetsu Brigade will be a 3-man team composed of shinobis with their own set of unique abilities. Naruto will automatically become a part of the team due to his bloodline. The second to join this new group will be Mitarashi Enko, a Tokubetsu jounin trained by the traitor Orochimaru. Her skills in stealth and assassination would be a great complement to the team. Last, but not the least, is Yakumo from the minor Kurama clan. The Kurama clan was well known for being genjutsu specialists, but Yakumo is unique among his blood relatives since she can easily throw illusions as if it was nothing or overpower the techniques that the illusions become reality to a point. With these 3 in mind, the Tokubetsu Brigade would be complete, and would serve him well in the future. Enko will provide close to mid-range specialties while Naruto offers mid to long-range abilities. Yakumo can cover the lack of genjutsu in the group or even serve as a medic nin with the proper training. The only problem with the team would be Yakumo. Her abilities are currently sealed and she is confined to her clan compound due to the demon that possessed her. If he wanted to let this team come to pass, then it is time to call in a seal master to counter the problem and remove the possession for good. He might as well call in Tsunade so he can have someone he trusts train Yakumo in medical techniques, but how in the world can he entice her back? But for now, he needed some of the members to meet and possibly bond with each other for the future stability with the team. He pressed a button on his desk, causing Nico to appear in front of him, kneeling. "You called, Hokage-sama?" said Nico. "Thank you for coming, Nico. I want you to find Mitarashi Enko and tell her to come to my office as soon as possible," ordered the Hokage. Nico nodded and disappeared from the room. "Now to write a letter for my wayward students," mused the Hokage as he pulled out a blank scroll from a drawer. Time skip, Naruto, age 13. 5th Academy year. In a large house surrounded by a tall, brick fence in the former training ground 43 beside the fence forest of death, Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto woke up to get himself ready for the big event of the day. Today was the graduation exam where he plans to pass with flying colors and become a genin of Konoha. The new Namikaze Uzumaki estate was quite large to say the least, which encompassed the entire former training ground which he bought from the Hokage using half of the money he got from his parents. He built the estate himself with the judicious use of his creation and transformation abilities plus 1,000 shadow clones to get it done in a week. The house, or mansion as Hokage Gigi called it, sported 15 bedrooms with their own bathroom, 5 guest rooms, a spacious training ground at the back with ready, though gated, access to the Forest of Death, a game room, a library, with only a few books inside for now, though the blonde vowed to fill it up if he had the time and the resources to do so, and of course, a study located on the underground level of the estate where he usually conducts his many projects and experiments. Naruto rolled himself off his 4-poster bed and headed straight for his bathroom, intending to take a hot shower to get his blood going for the day. His meeting with the Hokage yesterday was cryptic to say the least. All he got from the aged leader was to proceed with the test without holding back his abilities and a surprise when he graduates. He remembered grinning like a loon when the Hokage told him to go all out. He was quite happy to finally cut loose from the secrecy, though he told the Hokage that the council would find out about it, but the aged leader assured him that it's already taken care of. The 2 years after the 2-month training with the Hokage was spent in both honing his abilities, training new abilities, and of course, a lot of experimentation with many of his projects, which some of them he happily completed with the help of Kyubi and Kaido of Higurashi weapons. He exited the shower after an hour of relaxing in the bathtub, dried himself off with a fluffy towel, and proceeded to his walk-in closet where he observed himself from a large body-sized mirror. His physical training yielded amazing results. He was now at 5 feet 4 inches, well-muscled but not bulky. He was clearly built for speed and agility, though his training with chakra weights made sure that whatever muscles he has in his body packed enough strength to back him up during any encounters he might face when he becomes a full-fledged shinobi of the leaf. On his palms were 2 storage seals holding his prized guns, ebony and ivory. He trained a lot with them over the years, and he could easily say that he was on par with train hardnet of Black Cat, though he could never gauge how good the protagonist was since it was in the realm of fantasy. On the other side of his hands were another set of storage seals which holds his chakra chain armlets. 5 rings connected to a wrist bracer with chains, all made with chakra metals that allowed him easier control and access to his mother's ability. The metals were inscribed with seals for better control, durability, and allowed him to use the chains with lesser chakra to avoid exhausting himself in a long battle. His face and body was devoid of body fat because of his daily physical training. He let his blonde hair grow out, which now reached the middle of his back. He dried his hair out and braided it with a simple thought. Thanks to his training program from QB, he had easier access to his chakra magic bloodline, and it responded to his thoughts without the need for gestures, though he loved to wave his hand now and then when he wanted to do something with it since it made him look cool. Turning to one of the closets, and pulled out a box which revealed a set of clothes and gears that he never wore before. These were special creations of his that he swore to only wear during graduation and when he becomes a genin of Konoha. He donned his gear and observed himself in the mirror. His outfit consisted of a dark blue shirt and black cargo pants. He wore black combat boots with a steel toe tip. On his thighs were 2 gun holsters decorated with seals around the Konoha leaf symbol. He finished his outfit with a black high-collared trench coat with the orange spiral symbol at the back. These were quite special and are a result of hours of experimentation. The outfit was lined with durability seals to make sure that they survived the rigors of being a shinobi. The trench coat was special since he incorporated the seals of his chakra weights into its hem, so they are weighted down by chakra for his daily training. Of course, it also included durability seals to make sure they survive harsh beatings. Liking his look, he unsealed ebony and ivory and placed them on the holsters attached to his thighs, at the same time unsealing the chakra chain bracelets. Overall, he made quite an imposing figure, and he liked it. Chuckling at how he would be surprising his classmates in the academy, he left the confines of his room and made his way towards the kitchen for breakfast. When he entered the kitchen, he saw Anko sitting on the dining table, sipping a cup of coffee while reading today's newspaper. He met Mitarashi Anko last year in the Forest of Death while he was sparring with his clones. At first, the woman was quite hostile for invading her forest, but after explaining to her his situation and why he was using the area for training, both hit it off squarely since both found something they both have in common. They love to cause a lot of destruction. In the end, both had fun sparring with each other, growing strong in the process. It was only a year ago, when Naruto finished his soon-to-be clan house, that he invited Anko to take up residence with him since there were enough space for the both of them. The woman denied it at first since she wasn't used to living with a guy alone in a big house, but eventually relented when both got close together. They sported a brother-sister relationship which suited the two of them just fine. "Good morning, Anko-nichan. You're up early," greeted Naruto as he moved himself to one of the counters to prepare himself a cup of coffee while he used his telekinesis to bring out 3 cups of ramen from the other side of the room and placed a pot of water on top of the stove to boil. "Want something for breakfast?" he asked the Jonin. He didn't bother to hide his abilities from Anko since he trusted her. Besides, it's not like she didn't see him practice and train with his bloodline in the Forest of Death before and after they met. She revealed that she was the one who reported him to the Hokage of turning the forest into his personal training ground, considering it was her home away from home. "No thanks, Gaki. I just got back from a mission actually and decided to just relax for the day. I already ate a dozen dangos for breakfast, so I'm good," said Anko while taking another sip of coffee from her cup. "Are you ready for the exams today?" "Of course. I've been ready for years now. Thank Kami that Gigi told me to cut loose or I'll be toning down my abilities again," answered Naruto as he sat himself in front of Anko and took a sip of his own brew while waiting for the water to boil. Anko gave him an amused smirk. "So you're going to be showing off today, huh? Give them hell, Gaki. I don't want to hear anything from my peers that Anko's adopted brother is not doing well in his exams," said the Jounin with a grin. Because of his closeness with the Snake Mistress, Naruto met quite a lot of high-end ninjas in the field, namely Yuhi Kurinai, Konoha's Genjutsu Mistress, Yuzuki Yugogo, Konoha's Blade Mistress, and Inuzuka Hana and her partners, the 3 Himura brothers. Naruto wasn't bothered that all of them were females since they were close friends with her adopted sister. Anko explained to him that they weren't any men in their groups since they were known as the Ice Princesses of Konoha that perverts would love to get their hands on. "Nah. I'll make you proud today, Nei-chan. Besides, Gigi told me to go all out, so I'm going to be doing just that whether the others like it or not." He paused when he thought of something. "I'm sure that some in class wouldn't be happy seeing the real me in action though," he finished with a snicker. He expects some confrontation to happen in the exams today ever since he decided to start showing off a bit of his abilities in class during his final year in the academy. During his final year in the academy, Naruto decided to show off some of his with the blessing of his Gigi. His grades skyrocketed and he was undefeated during their spars. To his annoyance, Uchiha Sasuke started hounding him for information on how he became so strong, but he usually avoided such confrontation with a few well-placed words and exiting using teleportation when he is out of sight. Of course, since the Uchiha started to make his life a living hell, his fan club followed suit, especially one Hirono Sakura. She didn't really annoy him much until she lets out that irritating screech of hers. He was tempted so many times to just shut her mouth using his chakra magic, but QB stopped that idea since that would reveal his abilities to the loudest girl in class. Not the best way to hide. He also had fun during the final year in the academy since he made friends with the clan heirs. He became best friends with Kiba, Shikamaru, Chuji, and Hinata. He had a passing acquaintance with Shino, but he couldn't blame the lad since the boy was just too silent for his own good, blurting out one or two-word answers if need be. However, he liked the quiet, insect-using boy who became a part of their group, though he didn't usually join them during their free time. The only clan heir that he didn't befriend was Yamanaka Ino, who on their third year in the academy became a devoted Uchiha fangirl alongside Sakura, who she developed a rivalry with. Of course, being who she was with, Naruto avoided her like the plague. Good. I want to see you by the end of the day wearing a leaf headband, declared Enko with so much passion that Naruto couldn't help but grin. Nothing was said anymore after that as both enjoyed the silence of the morning. Naruto ate his ramen breakfast while Enko continued to read the papers. It didn't take long for Naruto to finish his breakfast. He cleaned up after himself and bade farewell to Enko with a kiss on the cheek before teleporting out of the kitchen towards the academy. Naruto reappeared on the rooftop of the academy since this was the only place he could use his ability without anyone noticing. He looked over the edge and saw an empty area that was perfectly hidden from view. He teleported again and walked towards the front yard of the Konoha Shinobi Academy towards the examination room where the graduation class will be taking their tests. He opened the door to the testing area and saw only some of his classmates in attendance. It didn't bother him since it was still early for the exams to start, so he walked into the room and up the stairs where Shikamaru was currently taking a nap while Chuji was busy munching on his endless supply of chip. Yo! He greeted his longtime friends. Hi Naruto. You're early today. Nice outfit, said Chuji in between eating his chips. Naruto gave him a grin and placed his hands on his hips. You like? I made them especially for today. Besides, I need a new outfit when I become a genin of Konoha, declared Naruto. Troublesome blonde. Do you have to be so loud? Complained a lazy Shikamaru who woke up from his nap. Naruto sent him a smirk. Lazy as ever, Shika. I think you're lazy enough to go to your own funeral, said Naruto with a grin. Shut up, said Shikamaru before stretching to get rid of the kinks from his neck and yawned. He eyed Naruto and noticed the guns on his thighs. What are those things? Oh, these? Naruto pointed towards his weapons. These are my guns. Guys, meet Ebony the Black and Ivory the White. Chuji looked at the guns with a curious look until a sudden realization sparked in his eyes. Wait a minute. Those guns look familiar. Aren't those the same as those manga you read a few years back? He asked incredulously. Naruto grinned and pulled out Ebony from its holster and held it out in front of Chuji. Of course. I reversed engineered it from the manga and finally completed these babies 3 years ago. I only now brought them out. No use in hiding them now, right? You mean they actually work? Of course. Let me demonstrate, answered the blonde Jinchuriki as he aimed his gun at the vase on the teacher's desk. He channeled a little bit of chakra for a low-powered bullet and pulled the trigger. A small blue chakra bullet shot out of the ebony's tip and hit the vase, causing it to shatter. Everyone looked at the destruction in both awe and fear. See? It works? Damn. I should get me some of that, shouted Chuji, his chips forgotten as he stared longingly at the smoking gun on Naruto's grip. Naruto shook his head and replaced the gun back to its holster. Sorry, Chuji. Clan secret. He apologized to his friend. Seeing the shattered vase on the table, he waved his hand towards it, easily repairing the vase good as new. This caused everyone's jaw to drop while Shikamaru murmured troublesome under his breath. Okay, you have to tell me how you did that, Naruto, asked the Akimichi. That's my bloodline. I don't have much time to explain it to you guys right now, but I'll do so in the future. Okay? Chuji and Shikamaru shrugged and went back to their respective habits, Shikamaru sleeping and Chuji eating. Naruto just gave them a knowing grin and sat down beside the lazy Naruto and closed his eyes to relax. It was an hour later when Iruka and Mizuki entered the testing area to facilitate the graduation exam for the genin hopefuls. The first part was the written exam, which caused a lot of groaning to echo from his classmates. Mizuki distributed the paper, which of course made sure that Naruto was the last one to get his. The white-haired instructor laughed with a glare. Naruto looked at the paper and noticed something off about it. It was an ordinary test paper, but the questions were for chunins. He cursed under his breath until he noticed a trace of chakra on the paper in his hands. Genjutsu, huh? Thought Naruto as he sent a small burst of his own chakra towards the paper, effectively canceling the illusion, revealing the questions for genins. It seems that Mizuki is up to his old tricks again, said Kyubi, who immediately saw the illusion on the paper but kept quiet to see how Naruto would react. Fortunately, his container didn't disappoint. Meh, I wouldn't put it past him to stop now. He's been trying to disrupt my education for the 5 years I've been in the academy, he said while answering the question, which he found quite easy thanks to his daily nighttime reading in the Konoha library. Naruto was amused to how much his teacher would go just to fail him, only to be thwarted every time by the blonde. He will realize that his plan failed. I think his next step would be to change your answers so you'll come out with a failing grade. Mused Kyubi in his mindscape. Not if I have anything to say about it. Grouched Naruto. He finished his test within 30 minutes, giving him the rest of the hour to relax. He used his pen to trace a stasis seal on the edge of the paper and pushed a little of his chakra into it to activate. There. Now anything that is written in the paper before the seal is placed and activated cannot be changed. What seal was that? The fox asked curiously. He saw the seal Naruto placed on the paper, though its use eluded him. That was a stasis seal from my dad's book. It preserves the object after the seal is placed. In other words, my answers will stay on the page until I remove the seal. They can add anything on the paper, but the original text will stay in place. Ingenious, right? Explained Naruto with a mental grin. Indeed. The yandere was quite a genius on seals. Did you finish all his books? Asked Kyubi. Yeah, I did, but I need to be tested to determine my exact level. The only person who can do that is Ero-sennin, but he is currently out of the village. Said Naruto, thinking of the white-haired pervert that he met a year ago after being introduced to him by the Hokage. He found out that he was his dad's sensei and trained him to become one of the most powerful shinobis in the elemental nation. He also discovered that he was his godfather but wasn't able to take care of him due to his duties outside the village as a spy master. However, even if he didn't take care of Naruto, he sent enough money for the boy, which was the source of his allowance. He forgave him immediately since he was too mature to hold a grudge, but he hated that his godfather was a pervert, or a super pervert, as he liked to boast out loud in front of Naruto, which forced the blonde to hit him on the balls by a low-powered bullet from Ivory. When is he planning to come back? Not sure, but Gigi told me that the pervert will be returning to Konoha during the Chunin exams this year, so I guess I'll ask him then to test me to determine my exact rank in seals. Both lapsed into silence to wait for the time for the test to finish, which didn't take long when Iruka called out for everyone to stop and Mizuki to go around picking up their test papers. His eyes bugged out when he got to Naruto and saw the blonde's test papers, complete with answer, which caused him to level an intense glare at a serenely smiling Jinchuriki. When a sullen Mizuki finished getting all the papers, Iruka called out to the class to step outside to the training ground adjoining the academy for the next phase of the graduation exam, weapons throwing. For Naruto, the exam was quite boring. It was quite predictable who would be doing good and bad since he had already determined who will be passing the exams. Of course, the clan heirs were all safe since they have their own families to train them in the skills needed to pass. Uchiha Sasuke, despite not having his family for training, got a lot of it from random shinobis who offered him a lot of advice for his growth. He also knew that Sakura would be passing as well despite her loud, fangirlish personality. She had the book smarts to pass the written exam, average skills in both taijutsu and weapons. Her chakra control, of course, automatically passed her for the basic academy jutsu requirement. Uzumaki Naruto, Iruka called out. Naruto pushed himself off the tree he was leaning on and approached his favorite sensei, who smiled and passed him 10 kunais. Okay, Naruto. I want you to throw these kunais at the target indicated on the training dolls. You will get a point for each kunai that hit the target. Accuracy is the key here. Ready? Dolphin named Chunin asked his student. Naruto nodded at the instructions and spread his feet to center himself. After taking a deep breath, his hands blurred as he threw one kunai after the other, hitting the target at pinpoint accuracy. Thanks to his gun training, his eyesight and accuracy was off the charts. He could easily hit a target at 200 meters with ease using his guns, and half the range for throwing weapons. Iruka's jaw dropped as Naruto blurred through the kunais and hit the targets dead on. He shakily congratulated Naruto for a perfect score on kunai throwing before handing him 10 shurikens with the same instruction on another doll. Deciding to go for theatrics this time to get his point across, he held 5 shurikens on each hand and took his stance. He threw all the shurikens on his right with an overhand throw, followed immediately by the ones on his left. All the shurikens hit the middle of the target at once. Iruka shook his head and gave Naruto a smile. Great job, Naruto. You got a perfect score for both kunai and shuriken. Go back in line for the next part of the exam. With a grin, Naruto went back into his favorite tree to wait for his turn to be called for the taijutsu portion of the exam. He noticed that the Uchiha was glaring at him while the rest of the fangirls were shouting that the blonde cheated. He shrugged at their useless antics and leaned on the tree and closed his eyes. You couldn't help it, can you? Asked the snickering fox. Naruto already knew what his tenant was talking about. Of course. Did you see their faces? If only I had a camera, I would have taken a picture and have it framed to hang on my study, said Naruto with a grin. What are your plans for the taijutsu portion of the exam? Asked the fox, curious what the blonde have in store for the instructors who will be conducting the spar. I'm not sure. If it is Iruka-sensei, then I'll be toning it down since I don't want to hurt him. However, if it's Mizuki, then I think I'll resort to Tai Chi, that is if it's allowed. Mused Naruto. You should ask Iruka at the start of your match. I would guess that Mizuki will be sparring with you for the exam since he seems to have a beef for you. You think? Naruto said sarcastically to the fox for stating the obvious. The taijutsu exam caught a little of Naruto's interest since he wanted to observe how his friends would be faring in their own respective matches. The rules were quite simple. The academy instructors will be sparring with them, and the genin hopefuls were required to last for 5 minutes to pass. There was no way for a genin to beat a trained chunin, so they made the exam to see if they can stand up to them in a fight. Naruto grinned when Mizuki announced that they wouldn't have to stick to the academy taijutsu if they wanted to use their own, which was a direct jibe to the clan heirs who had their own set of taijutsu styles to showcase. I guess I will be using Tai Chi after all. Mizuki just dug his own grave, said Naruto with an evil smirk on his face that caused those around him to step back. Indeed. Give him hell, Kit, replied Kyubi, which Naruto gave a nod. The match was quite interesting to say the least. It seems that his friends were using their own set of taijutsu style to make the match more interesting. Shino utilized the basic academy style but with a slight variation normally used by an Aburame because of their longer reach. He landed a few good hits on Irika, who was able to dodge the rest despite the difference in range. Of course, he survived for 5 minutes and passed. Chuji, on the other hand, had the finesse of a bulldozer, overpowering his punches, which Mizuki carefully dodged since he knew that one hit would practically knock him out because the Akimichis were well-known powerhouses in taijutsu. The 5-minute mark passed with Chuji passing and Mizuki sighing in relief that he survived without a single bruise. Sakura was a surprise. She used the academy-style taijutsu since she came from a civilian stock. However, it seems that she was able to properly utilize the style and used her small build to avoid the hits from Irika. Naruto could see that his favorite sensei was taking it easy on the girl, much to the blonde's amusement. It was Hinata's turn on the field and Naruto couldn't help but marvel at the graceful movements of the Jukin. However, there seems to be a solidity to the stance that doesn't feel right for the flexible girl. He also noticed that the Jukin has a passing resemblance to his Tai Chi and noted that it was quite possible that his style was the original form of Jukin, but he dismissed it as irrelevant. The match ended with Hinata passing with Irika's shoulder being immobilized when the girl got lucky enough to get in a hit. It was Kiba's turn to spar and Naruto grinned at the massacre happening on the field. Due to having a Niken, which was allowed since an Inuzuka fights with one and is part of their taijutsu, Mizuki was busy trying to dodge twin tornadoes of claws and win from both Kiba and Akamaru. The match ended when Kiba managed to hit Mizuki on the stomach with a well-placed punch, knocking the breath out of him. Shikamaru's fight was anticlimactic to say the least. Due to his lazy nature, Shika decided to just dodge without bothering to attack. He passed due to technicality since he lasted for the whole 5 minutes without getting hit by Irika. At the end of the match, Naruto mused if the entire Nara clan was an expert in dodging or maybe it was just one of Shikamaru's quirks. Next was the Uchiha, the so-called prodigy of their group. To put it simply, Mizuki threw the match by giving the Uchiha a freebie and not bothering to put speed into his attacks. He was felled in 2 minutes by a well-placed uppercut by Sasuke that caused him to win the match. Naruto just grunted at the obvious bias towards the boy. Of course, the Uchiha fan club shouted their excitement for their idol's win. It was supposed to be his turn next, but thanks to Mizuki's meddling, Ino was called first and her opponent was Irika. Naruto had to give it to Mizuki. He played with Irika very well to make sure that he is Naruto's opponent. Another boring battle later where Ino survived for 5 minutes, it was his turn next. He immediately went into the ring facing Mizuki when Irika called him for his turn. Instead of the Academy Taijutsu, Naruto settled into an advanced form Tai Chi that focuses more on defense than offense. Thanks to his training with Enko, Naruto can switch to the different styles of Tai Chi from offense to defense or vice versa with ease. When Irika called the match to start, Mizuki immediately lunged toward the blonde at Chunin level speed to the shock of Irika, but Naruto saw it clearly as if he was standing still thanks to his spars with the Hokage and Enko. He dodged a punch that was aimed for his face by sweeping it aside with a fist and immediately launched a palm thrust counter that hit Mizuki on the chest, pushing him back a few feet. Naruto gave the gasping Mizuki a grin and decided there and then to play around for a bit. Mizuki attacked with renewed vigor, throwing punches and kicks hoping to cause damage to the blonde Jinchuriki, but Naruto calmly dodged and parried the blows with ease that further enraged the white-haired Chunin. Kyubi told Naruto that he only had 20 seconds left before the match ends. The blonde immediately switched to offense and lunged forward towards his opponent, catching him off guard. He jumped when Mizuki launched a clumsy leg swipe and lashed out with a swift right kick that hit the instructor on the face. Not letting up his attack, Naruto used the momentum of the kick to spin and use his left to backhand Mizuki on the same area, enough power to throw him out of the ring. The match ended with the entire student body in total silence. A genin just knocked a Chunin out of the ring in 2 well-placed hits, and it was obvious to his friends that Mizuki wasn't holding back. The silence was broken when Irika announced Naruto as the winner. Everyone went back to the testing room to await the final portion of graduation exam, ninjutsu. They have to wait a while because Mizuki needs to be carried to the nurse's office to be revived since Naruto's blow to the face shocked the white-haired instructor so much that he lost consciousness, though what they didn't know was that Naruto enhanced his strength using chakra magic just to get even with the traitorous shinobi. It was 30 minutes later that Irika came in with an angry Mizuki in tow, who was quite put out that his plans to fail the blonde Jinchuriki backfired on him. The worst part is the humiliation of getting knocked unconscious by an academy student who hasn't even made genin yet. He swore revenge and would be damned if he can't fail Naruto on the next part of the exam. "Quiet everyone!" shouted Irika. Thankfully, the rowdy students complied. "Thank you. The final portion of your exam is ninjutsu. You will be asked to come in front to demonstrate the 3 basic academy jutsus taught to you during your attendance here in the Konoha Shinobi Academy, namely Henj no Jutsu, Kawarimi no Jutsu, and Bunshin no Jutsu. When your name is called, please come to the front and demonstrate your mastery over the basics. Over the course of the exam, Naruto noticed that a lot of the civilian students failed. Some didn't get the details right in their Henj, some failed to properly Kawarimi themselves with any object in the room, though many were able to master the Bunshin no Jutsu since it didn't take much to create an illusionary clone. Of course, the clan heirs were properly trained by their parents to master the techniques to make sure that they wouldn't embarrass the clan they are representing. They performed the techniques perfectly except for a few who utilized variations of their family techniques, like Shino who used a bug Bushin instead of the illusionary one. Most created just 1 clone, but Sasuke was able to make 5 of them with ease, though Naruto doubted it was because of competency since the Uchiha has above average chakra reserves compared to his classmates due to his constant training, and his lack of control would have been disastrous in creating a single clone. Instead, he distributed his energy to create 5 stable clones instead of an overpowered one which would have doomed him. As expected, his fangirls went all out in their praise to the blonde Jinchuriki's amusement. Naruto's name was called after the self-proclaimed prodigy, so he stood up from his seat and walked up to the 2 instructors who were eyeing him, one with mirth while the other was full of hate. He ignored the latter and chose to give Irika a smile. Okay, Naruto. In order to pass this portion of the exam, you need to first use Henj no Jutsu, then Kawarimi, and finally, create a Bunshin. Understood? Asked Irika in a serious voice with his ever-present clipboard in front of him. Gotcha, Irika-sensei. Let me start things off. Henj! Shouted Naruto, who was suddenly covered in smoke which dissipated after a few seconds to reveal Mitarashi Enko in all her seductive glory, which means that she wasn't wearing much that caused both Irika and Nezuka to sport a pair of nosebleed from the perverted sight. Wanting to cause more chaos for his 2 teachers, Naruto decided to act in an Enko-ish way that would drive his point home. He licked his lips, which appeared quite seductive in his Enko disguise. This time, Irika and Mizuki was propelled off their feet by a massive nosebleed which caused the rest of the class to roar in laughter. Naruto dispelled the Henj and was smirking at the 2 down Chunin. After getting back on their feet and wiping the excess blood from their noses, the 2 instructors glared at the blonde for making a fool of themselves. Next time, try to pick a more simple Henj, Naruto, but good job anyway. That was a perfect transformation. I wonder how you got the details down so perfectly, asked Irika with curiosity in voice and a small blush on his cheeks. This caused Naruto to raise an eyebrow. It seems that Irika has the hots for his adopted sister. Another opportunity for chaos caused the blonde to inwardly smirk. Well, she usually hangs out at my place from time to time, or we usually spar with each other if time permits. Why do you ask, Irika-sensei? He innocently asked his mildly blushing instructor. He didn't want to tell people that his adopted sister was living in his soon-to-be clan house since that would cause the rumors to spread like wildfire. He needed to protect his sister's interests after all. Oh, nothing. Just curious, that's all. Now do a Kawarimi, would you please? Irika said immediately since the blonde was smirking at him in a manner that made him nervous. Naruto nodded and flipped through the required seals and released his chakra to replace himself with someone he had in mind. In Naruto's place was one Mitarashi Enko who was about to remove her coat to reveal her chain mesh shirt underneath, which showed a lot of her skin underneath. She wasn't wearing any bra. What the fuck am I doing here? She bellowed while looking around. The girls in the room were giving her a glare while the boys were blushing like mad. Mizuki was sporting a nosebleed while Irika was as red as a tomato. Enko turned to Irika, leveling him an accusing glare. Well? She asked in a threatening voice that promised untold pain if no answer was given. But before he could answer, Enko disappeared to reveal a smirking Naruto. Damn, I thought she was still in the kitchen, but I guess she was about to change to her sleeping clothes. Oh well, said Naruto, though the smirk never left his face. Irika simply glared at the blonde since he knew that it was done on purpose. Naruto, for your final test, please do a bunshin. This time do it right and no pranks, demanded Irika in a testy voice. Prank? Who, me? I never. Naruto defended himself while putting on his most convincing innocent facade, but the slight twitching of his lips told everyone that the blonde was lying through his teeth. Just do the test so we can get this over and done with, said Irika in a tone that promised untold violence if it wasn't followed. Fine. You guys can't take a joke. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, shouted Naruto, and 10 identical Narutos appeared behind the original. Irika and Nezuka stared at the clones and the original in shock. The boy, a mere academy student, just created 10 shadow clones without even suffering from exhaustion. Right, you pass, Naruto, stuttered Irika, who wanted to get this day over and done with so he can get wasted to forget the shock this day was giving him. However, Mizuki has other plans. Wait, Irika. Naruto didn't do the required clones. He is supposed to do a bunshin, not a kage bunshin, explained Mizuki in an overly sweet voice. What do you mean, Mizuki? There's no such rule. He was, however, when Naruto stepped in. Well, there's no rule stating that an academy student can't do kage bunshin or any bunshin for that matter. In fact, if my version of Bunshin is not acceptable, then Shino should have failed as well because of the different technique we used. Besides, the Hokage explained to me that I couldn't hope to create a regular Bunshin due to my large chakra reserves unless I have control like that of Tsunade of the Sannin. Explained Naruto in a businesslike tone. This got a nod from Iruka and a scowl from Mizuki for having his plan thwarted again. He is correct, Mizuki, said Iruka, then turned to Naruto and smiled. Congratulations, Naruto. You passed the exam. Please take your headband from the desk and go back to your seat so I can give some last-minute instructions. Naruto happily nodded to Iruka and picked out a black Konoha headband from the pile on the desk before putting it on his head. He was about to go back to his seat when he felt a cold shiver run down his spine and sensed something horrible was about to happen to him. He was interrupted from his thoughts when the door of the testing room was blown out of its hinges to reveal a bloodthirsty Anko holding a kunai. She looked around the room until her eyes rested on a certain blonde who was sporting a frightened look. She gave him the most sadistic grin she could muster, which practically scared everyone in the room. Hold it right there, Gaki. You have some explaining to do, said Anko with a bloodthirsty smile on her face, and licked the tip of her kunai in a way that made quite a lot of men in the room suffer severe tightening of their pants. Squeaking in fright, Naruto turned to Iruka and blurted out a bye before teleporting himself out of there to the shock of everyone in the room except for the enraged snake mistress. Anko was about to go after the blonde, but Iruka stopped her. Anko-san, please inform Naruto to come here tomorrow for team placement at 10 a.m. and don't hurt him too much, please, said Iruka with a sigh. Anko gave Iruka a sweet smile before patting him on the cheeks, which caused the academy instructor to blush bright red. Don't worry, Iruka-kun. I won't hurt him much, she said sweetly before using Shunshin to disappear from the room to scour the village for the blonde prankster. The Hokage was currently enjoying the feeling of loosening muscles as he lounged around in his massage chair while his clones were working on the day's pile of paperwork. He was brought out of his reverie when a loud wail echoed from the forest of death. No! Not there! Not there! Uyahhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhh What he saw made him pale and clutched his crotch as if in pain. He shuddered. Better him than me, he whispered before deactivating the technique to avoid the gruesome sight. Naruto limped his way towards his old classroom for the team placement. Anko's punishment for his little prank yesterday was inhumane. He would have preferred to be clobbered, battered, bruised, fed to her snake summons, or even suffer from a few puncture wounds here and there. Heck, he would even consent to be barbecued since he knew Kyubi would heal him right as rain after a few hours. But no! His adopted sister has to be sadistic in her punishment, and kicking a male in the groin was obviously the most inhumane, demonic, and downright sadistic punishment any female could inflict on the opposite sex. This is why he was limping towards his usual seat, thankful that he decided to be very early to avoid his peers. He painfully lowered himself on his seat and conjured a very cold ice bag on his privates to dull the pain. He sighed as he felt the numbness pushing a little bit of the pain away, not all of it, but enough to make it more bearable. Due to his situation, he didn't notice Shikamaru and Chuji approach his favorite spot in the classroom, looking at him in pity. Troublesome blonde. If you didn't pull that prank yesterday, then you wouldn't be suffering right now, the Nara heir said lazily without any hint of remorse in his voice. Yeah, man. You must have a death wish to do something like that, said Chuji, though there was a slight blush on his face when he remembered Anko's figure yesterday. Naruto groaned as he leveled his friends with a look that simply said drop it or else. Both shrugged and immediately sat beside the blonde and kept silent while waiting for the rest of the genins to arrive so the team placement could start. Why is the healing taking so long? Naruto mentally asked the Kyubi, wincing slightly when a sudden pain lanced through his body when he shifted in his seat. I am doing the best I can, Kit. What that sadistic wench did to you was downright monstrous, said Kyubi as he shuddered. He might be the all-powerful Kyubi no Kitsune, but he was also a male, so he knew how painful it was to be kicked in the balls multiple times. Is there any way for me to speed up the process? Maybe use my chakra magic to complete heal it, or maybe numb the pain? Asked the desperate blonde who was clearly in pain. No? Was that a question? Yes, I mean no. There is no way you can use your bloodline for this since you didn't bother to study anatomy. The human body is too complicated to play around with. You might do something wrong and permanently destroy any future chance of ever making your own family, said Kyubi as he channeled every bit of chakra he could to the afflicted area to heal his container. Naruto winced, but the sudden action caused another bout of pain to lance through his body from his groin. Ouch, groaned Naruto. Man it up, Kit. Why don't you man it up after enduring 30 minutes of being kicked in the balls by a sadistic kunoichi? Touché. Remind me next time not to play any pranks on Anko-nichan, said Naruto as he sighed when he felt a lot of the pain go away as Kyubi's chakra finally did its magic. I will. I don't think I will survive another round of her punishment. Even I felt it here in the mindscape. I could have sworn that some of walls here in your mind crack a bit at her onslaught, Kyubi promised. It was an hour later when Iruka arrived. When he entered the room, he immediately looked at the blonde with pity on his face. He easily heard the blonde's painful screams from the forest of death yesterday, and he could only imagine the kind of torture the boy was subjected to. After all, Anko was well known in the torture and interrogation division for being a sadistic interrogator, the best one in the business. Iruka stepped up to his desk and looked at the gossiping genins. "Okay everyone. Quiet down," said Iruka, who then looked at his favorite blonde at the back of the room. "Are you alright there, Naruto?" All he got was a groan that made the entire male population in the room wince, since all of them heard Naruto's screams yesterday. "Any questions before I start with the team placement? Iruka-sensei, where is Mizuki-sensei? Shouldn't he be here since he is also our instructor and all?" asked a random civilian who passed the exam. Iruka hesitated a bit before giving his answer. "Mizuki-sensei is currently busy at the moment. He won't be able to attend this meeting, but don't worry. He's in great hands," answered Iruka. The truth of the matter was that Mizuki was apprehended around midnight for stealing the forbidden scroll from the Hokage's office. Unfortunately, or fortunately in this case, Naruto's screams of untold pain caused Mizuki to freeze during his escape. That the ANBU who was chasing him caught up and immediately took him into custody. They successfully retrieved the scroll and placed Mizuki under the sadistic hands of Marino Ibiki, who instructed the ANBU to search for Anko in the Forest of Death, which was the reason why she stopped her punishment of Naruto. He only prayed that his former co-instructor die a quick death, since he knew that the duo could easily prolong the agony to extract as much information as they could from their prisoners. Any more questions? No? Then let's start with the team placement. Team 1 will be composed of. Naruto was lightly listening to Iruka as he listed off the different teams and their respective sensei. It was when he reached Team 7 that Naruto was fully healed thanks to the tireless work of his tenant that he was coherent enough to take note of the teams. He only prayed that his inattentiveness didn't cause him to miss his name being called. Team 7 will be composed of Uchiha Sasuke, Hirono Sakura, and Sai. Your Jounin sensei will be Hatake Kakashi. This caused Sakura to scream in delight as if she won the lottery. The male population winced at the volume of her scream, while females suddenly felt a bout of depression for not being partnered with their idol. Iruka sensei, who's Sai? Asked Sasuke, since he didn't know any classmates of his by that name. Sai is last year's graduate who was put on reserve since he didn't have any team during their team placement. Now he is placed on your team, explained Iruka while reading something from his clipboard that caused him to frown. Sasuke just nodded, accepting the answer, before going back to his brooding. Team 8 will be Abirame Shino, Inuzuka Kiba, and Hyuga Hinata. Your sensei will be Yuhi Kurinai. Team 9 is still in circulation from last year's graduates. Team 10 will be Yamanaka Ino, Nara Shikamaru, and Akimichi Chuji. Your sensei will be Sarutobi Asuma, he said as he placed the clipboard on his desk and let his gaze settle on Naruto, who was patiently waiting for his name to be called. Uzumaki Naruto, Hokage-sama told me that you will need to go to him ASAP for your team placement. He didn't tell me why, but all I got from him is a note saying it's connected to the thing we talked about 3 years ago, explained Iruka while giving Naruto a questioning look. Naruto returned Iruka's questioning stare with one of his own until he remembered his talk with the Hokage the other day concerning a promise when he attains genin rank. He finally understood what the Hokage meant and gave Iruka a nod that meant that he understood the message. Can I go now, Iruka-sensei? I need to go to Hokage Gigi immediately, asked Naruto. Iruka shook his head and addressed the entire class. All of you are now genins of Konoha, so do your best and make the village proud. You may now leave for lunch, but I expect all of you, except Naruto, to come back in an hour to meet your respective sensei. Dismissed. Naruto gave Iruka a wave before disappearing from the room with no one the wiser, except for Iruka, Shikamaru, and Chuji, who was shocked at the repeat performance of the blonde's strange method of disappearing from the room. Naruto reappeared in the Hokage's office and immediately greeted the old man. Hey Gigi. I'm here. So what are you planning to do? He stopped and paled when he saw who was in the room. In front of the Hokage was his adopted sister, Mitarashi Anko, giving him a bloodthirsty grin. Beside her was a beautiful girl, around 4 feet 9 inches, wearing a purple battle kimono. She had brown hair and eyes. From the looks of it, she was around his age. Hi Anko Nichin, stuttered Naruto as he nervously eyed the snake mistress, whose bloodthirsty grin disappeared though it was replaced with a smirk. How are you doing, Gaki? I noticed that you've healed up quite well, said Anko while eyeing Groin with a mischievous look on her face. Just so you know, if you do something like that again, then the repeat performance would be twice as good, she said in a voice that promised delivery. Naruto immediately nodded and sighed that he won't be suffering anytime soon. He could hear Kyuubi giving a silent prayer of thanks to Kami in his mind. The aged Hokage decided to interrupt the duo's bickering before something else happens. Thanks for coming so soon, Naruto-kun. Now I take it that you got my message from Iruka? Naruto nodded. Why don't you sit down so that I can tell you about your team? Naruto sat down beside Anko and faced the Hokage, giving him his full attention. I think you will be questioning me right about now why you weren't given a team from your group. The reason is quite simple. Due to your special abilities, you will be partnered with others who have similar talents. You, Anko, and Yakumo here will be forming an elite team that will be under me. In part, I will be acting as your sensei in this matter. You will receive your missions directly from me and no one else. Any questions? Getting a negative from the group, he each passed of them a blue folder and signaled them to open it. Naruto saw that it was a detailed file of him, Enko, and Kurama Yakumo. The folders contained your personal files taken from the Shinobi archive. In other words, I have the only copy of your personal info, skills, and achievements and cannot be accessed by anyone. From today on, you three will be my special squad, the Tokubetsu Brigade. Enko will be your team leader, and if she is incapacitated or is away on personal missions, Naruto will be the one in charge. Naruto and Yakumo will be registered as a Tokubetsu Genin, while Enko retains her rank as Tokubetsu Jounin. You still lack one more in your group to complete the cell, but until I find the perfect one for the position, you are your own group for now. The Hokage finished before putting his pipe on his lips, taking in a few puffs of smoke before blowing it out. Gigi, what is a Tokubetsu Genin, and how is it different from a regular Genin? Asked Naruto, who was quite excited for being assigned directly under the Hokage, but is not familiar with his new position in the shinobi ranks. That is a very good question. A Tokubetsu rank is usually given when an individual displays rare abilities that separate them from the normal shinobi profile. For example, Enko here is a Tokubetsu Jounin since she is a mistress of torture and investigation, same with her partner Marino Ibiki. A shinobi with a Tokubetsu rank is only given by the Hokage and is only given when you have skills that will play an integral role in the village. Explained the Hokage. Hokage-sama, can I ask a question? Came the timid voice of Kurama Yakumo. Getting a nod from her leader, she continued. What makes us so special that you gave Naruto-san and me a Tokubetsu rank? I think that would be obvious from the file you have in your hands, but I'll be more than happy to explain. Let's start with you, Yakumo-chan. Your bloodline is mostly devoted to genjutsu, making it easier for your family to utilize this skill. However, you are given a Tokubetsu rank because your bloodline has evolved to turn illusion into reality in terms of genjutsu. Your case is similar to Naruto-kun here. His bloodline allows him to utilize his rare chakra to bend reality to his will, within reason of course. I'm sure he will be more than happy to demonstrate his bloodline to you during your training session with Enko. Said the Hokage, but added the last part when a questioning look crossed the girl's face upon the mention of Naruto's bloodline. What do you mean exactly when you say that we will play an integral role for the village Gigi? Asked the blonde Jinchuriki. It means that you will be taking in missions or tasks that will be of sensitive matter. Your mission's profile will be flexible. Tokubetsu Brigade will be assigned different missions that I deem you ready. You may be tasked for assassination, infiltration, backup, or even as frontline fighters during a war. Your group will be considered as a combination of tracking, recon, attack, and demolition squad due to your individual abilities. Said the Hokage with a smile on his face since his group were asking the right questions. Does this mean that you will be assigning us D-rank missions? Asked Enko with distaste. The Hokage shook his head. No. The purpose of D-rank missions is to promote teamwork and camaraderie between genins in a team. However, you, Enko, will be in charge of training each other's skills for both teamwork and bonding. The method is all up to you as long as the missions I will be giving you will be successful. Enko nodded with a smile on her face. She never did like D-rank missions since she thought of them as chores instead of actual missions. She vowed to come up with a program so she can test her team's ability to work together, as well as come up with a base for their abilities to fit well with different types of missions. Now to explain further how the team will function. Enko specializes in stealth and assassination. Her techniques and abilities make her a great close to mid-range fighter. Not to mention that her summons fit well with her line of work. Naruto, on the other hand, is capable of close, mid, to long-range fighting because of his skill set, making him the most versatile part of your team. Yakumo here will be your genjutsu specialist and medic. She was trained for a year by Tsunade when she came back to the village after I summoned her, and she ranked Yakumo to be mid-chunin to low-jounin in medical skills. The third member I will be putting on your team will serve as your ninjutsu specialist, but I don't have a candidate for the position yet. In lieu of this, all three of you are given permission to recommend anyone you see fit as your third member of the group. If you're lucky, you might find one to fill in the spot before the Chunin exams come along in 6 months. So when will we be starting missions, Hokage-sama? Asked Enko. I think I'll give you a week to get your team up and ready with their teamwork. Submit to be a plan of your training program and give me daily reports of their progress. I will call on you if I deem you ready for a mission. Are there any questions? He asked the group in front of him, quite proud of how each of them turned up. Enko, Naruto, and Yakumo shook their heads, so the Hokage dismissed them to get started with their team meeting.